Again, this is going to be ADCC style rules, so expect a lot of wrestling early.
Felipe looking for an entry, trying to get a hold of that head. Cleber wants none of that control.
Both these guys know each other. Both these guys know they have a little bit of time to work, so these guys are going to work their way into the match a little bit more. They're not going to make any big, stupid mistakes. Especially Nacib is going to want to take his time hand fighting, considering he got guillotined last time he fought Cleber, shooting in a little irresponsibly. There's a good counterattack from Nacib, able to pancake him down, keeping that nice over-under position and pressuring in off of the shot, but not able to hold him down. It's one thing to take somebody down. It's another to pin him down, and he wasn't able to do it there. That was good work from Cleber.
And notice that we are still in the opening half of this matchup. No points will be scored here early on. It's sub or go home for the first couple of minutes.
So you might be wondering why no points, why no negatives compared to like our last match with Goncalves where he got a negative. They said that was a guard pull, meaning that was Goncalves' decision to go to his back purposefully and try to start working there. And that is illegal in the ADCC rules. You have to be going for a takedown. Just getting taken down is different, even if it's a counter takedown like that. That's not a guard pull, and as such, for the first half of the match, it's not going to count negatively towards you.
Looking for the outside of the foot is Nacib. Now trying to control the left arm, the hand fighting for Clandestino. Holding off, but so far the forward pressure has been from the Alliance fighter.
Clandestino, for those of you that just know him as Cleber Souza, that is his nickname. It is a, good foot sweep. Good foot sweep. That's the second time he went to that. He used that as well when he was countering that almost JT Torres style trip where he goes in and uses that to finish on the takedown. He's in a good position here. Let's see how they reset it.
Felipe looking for that a couple of times, does finally get it, and now
he's hearing on this body lock. There's a good position for him on the reset. He's going to get a good opportunity to work from top here as Cleber is having to use a lot of energy to try to keep him from a good position. There's a good underhook from Cleber. He works into that Lucas Leite, but now there's the step back onto the legs. Felipe Nacib, very dangerous from this position. There's a knee bar. There's an inside heel hook.
He's got a hold of the foot. Spinning.
There's the outside heel hook. This is super dangerous. This could be our first finish of the night.
They keep rolling. Cleber doing his best.
Cleber cleared it. Kleber's
wow, the knee's out.
And now he's looking for his own potentially. He was looking for a Junie lock there. If that comes back up, I would love to talk about that. But that was a really, really dangerous position for Felipe Nacib, who I think now has to get his breath back a little bit. That was a good step back into a cross ashi saddle position, whatever you want to call it. He then brought that across, started looking for an outside heel hook in position called an inside ashi, very similar to what we saw Gordon Ryan use in his last match to tap out Josh Saunders. It's a leg locking position that's become a lot more popular in the last year or so, I would say.
And now fighters work back to their feet with a little under 4 minutes left to work.
Points are about to come in here very soon. So now we've seen the match play out. We've seen both guys on top. We've seen both guys on bottom. We've seen some submission attempts. And now here we go for the rest of the match where things are going to count a little bit more.
Very different matchup from their South American Championship from 2 years ago, where Cleber played butterfly guard for most of the match, and then they entered into a leg lock battle. Nacib nearly got him in that one, very similarly to what we just saw.
Big time. Because of that, I would say that Cleber has to be the guy who opens up a little bit more. He doesn't have to do it quickly, but if the match is just another couple of minutes of hand fighting, Felipe Nacib got pretty close to a submission there. Comparatively, Cleber has not had that opportunity, and there's been a couple of great counter takedowns for Felipe Nacib as well. Good heavy pull on the head.
That's been where Nacib's hand has been going consistently. One more time.
Well, notice when he shoots, Felipe Nacib is doing a great job of blocking with his head so that, there he's able to get under it. He starts able to connect the hands, but not able to get there. Felipe's just doing a great job of circling back in and keeping him from getting there. And Cleber's keeping his head just a little out of position, making life a little bit harder on himself than it has to be.
Maybe starting now to realize is Cleber that he needs to start.
Well, he can still put it on him. at least get a penalty, right? Because we saw it in the last fight. If these guys are not active, ADCC rules wants these guys to be more active and will assess those penalties. So there's a good guard pull, or not a good guard pull, there's a good shot, and we could see a potential guard pull from Fellipe Nacib, which may end up being legal depending on how he's able to handle this position, this front headlock, considering he's the one who initiated that action. Notice the squeeze on the neck, though.
And this is what happened last time, the guillotine. It was not, I don't believe the arm was in there. Now switching to the single and gets the takedown. Very nicely done by Cleber with under 2 minutes left.
That's going to be points. That's going to give him a 2-0 advantage. Fellipe Nacib is going to have to make something happen here. Cleber's very heavy on top. It's going to be a difficult task to get much going, so he's going to want to give himself a few opportunities. Fellipe Nacib, it looks like he's looking off to the side for something. I'm not sure what for.
Nacib maybe checking the clock.
Good guard passing work. The leg pummeling there from Souza was on point, and he ends up in side control. And I think Nacib a little tired from that early exchange where he got so close to the submission finish.
And this is where points can lead to points, right? The fighter behind needs to start making something happen. They let openings occur so they can create opportunities, but...
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in soccer, you pull your goalie, so much more likely for them to go down and score something, right? Just because your defense had to be sacrificed to give you a better shot on offense. And now Fellipe really needs to chase, there's the point, he needs to chase the finish if he can, if he has the energy. Cleber looking at the back, looking at the mount.
Wow, and Cleber just continuing to assert dominance as we get deeper into this match and things looking worse and worse, and he gets...
Tap to the smother.
Wow.
Tap to the smother. Melted him with pace and pressure, got to the mount, and got the quick tap from the smother. Fellipe Nacib unable to keep going there. Great performance from Cleber Souza. First submission of the night. He is pumped. Had to navigate some really tricky situations to be able to get his hand raised here tonight.
And this is one that took him a while. It was Nacib in control early on in this fight. Definitely making the case during the first half that he was the one who would dictate how it went. But as we got deeper into things, once those first couple of points were scored, you could see Nacib's whole game begin to change as he knew he had to chase. And Souza just taking advantage of that over and over again.
Big time. It's tough to win a decision if you go for the finish, if you go for the knockout punch. And I think that's what we saw here tonight. I think we saw Fellipe Nacib really go for that knockout punch. And Clandestino was able to keep that going, keep the pressure, keep the pace very high. Eventually got on top, passed the guard, got to mount, got the tap.
And you see the goal there for Cleber Souza, who came out with, again, a bit of a slower start here, but as we go take a look at some of these moments later, as soon as things began to shift, it was a torrential downpour in his favor.
Big time, and here was the near finish. He passes that leg across. It's definitely a dangerous position. There's the outside heel hook, and there was a lot of heat on that Cleber was able to survive. You see him start to free his knee, turn away, and from there it was all Cleber. It was transitioning from the neck into the leg, into the pass, into the mount, into the submission, keeping everything going. And he really showed his persistence in this fight because it was a lot of Fellipe Nacib early. It was some counter takedowns from Nacib that looked incredible. But then this back take to the mount, and notice how quick he's going to get the tap on this smother choke, and that really speaks to the squeeze like we were talking about. This is a guy who is strong. He gets those grips around the head, puts that squeeze on him. The submission is locked, and he can't move. There is strangulation. There is all kinds of different ways to tap somebody. This is suffocation, right? And it is a brutal way to go about it, but this is a guy who can squeeze the life out of pretty much anybody in this weight class if he gets a hold of them.
One sub in, more coming. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, 3 down. Welcome back to BJJ Stars 13 Vikings edition, where we just had our first submission victory by Smother earlier moments ago. And that's one of those submissions you were talking, Joe, during the break, that you have submissions by strangulation, but also submissions by suffocation. And that's one of those ones that gets more and more difficult to deal with as the one being smothered. The more tired you get, the deeper you get into a fight.
100%. It is a brutal way to put somebody out, but go back, look at that tape. The way he had it cinched up was so perfect. And Cleber's always been known as a guy with a really out-of-this-world squeeze. He put it on full display there and picked up a huge victory. He is so fired up for this win over Fellipe and Nacib. He understands that's a world-class opponent that he was able to submit. It was incredible.
And submit after adversity, facing the heel hook attempt earlier on that really did put some nasty pressure on the knee. We've seen many times where someone can get that pressure and then feel the pain a few minutes later. 100%. Not the case in this one.
No, he looked fantastic. He is a guy who at the BJJ Stars organization could end up fighting for one of these belts, could end up fighting one of these top guys. He's fought in a lot of top organizations, like one championship before. He is a total stud. He is a world-class guy, and he put on one of his better performances, I think, here tonight, especially in a no-gi match.
And you mentioned those titles. That's a difference tonight, is that these are all super fights rather than a bracket like there often is at BJJ Stars events. How do you prepare differently when you're talking about a super fight, just one and done on the evening, versus knowing you might have to go through 3 rounds?
It depends on the athlete. Some athletes are out there, and they are world-class, and they sometimes need a match or two to kind of warm up before they're ready to beat the absolute top best guys in the world. Some people tend to shine a little bit brighter when they just have one match and one opponent that they need to worry about and game plan for. And some people just have a style where if that's the one style you need to prepare for, they're so specialized in what they do that you can kind of start to pick it apart and come in with a strong game plan for that. And so it can affect a lot of fighters a lot of different ways, both tactically as well as mentally, right? We can talk about their style and what guard do they play and how do they like to pass, but what's going on in their brain? Do they think about just this one person and get excited and rise to the moment, or do they psych themselves out a little bit more?
Well, as we're talking about this idea of how do you prepare for the one versus the multiple, you mentioned earlier one of our co-main event tonight, Baby Shark Diogo Reis taking on Felipe Machado. And as we talked before the show began tonight, you said that you think that the single fight aspect of it might actually play into Machado's favor.
Absolutely. I think we've seen Machado over time. He is just a little bit sharper in some of these super fight matches compared to the brackets. And we saw that at South American trials where he had to face so many of those Mica Galvão students back to back, just over and over, having to face so many of those top kids that I think kind of jumping the line and going right into Baby Shark, I think is going to let him be his full explosive, high effort self in a nice self-contained match without having to worry about 2-3 matches down the line.
Yeah, that you can empty the tank all the way
100%.
you want rather than
empty the clip, empty the tank.
Yeah, let it all out there. And speaking of let it all out there, we have 2 fighters coming up who certainly have no love lost between them, whether it be because of their gyms, as we mentioned before, some of the rivalries that take place in Brazil, but also these 2 personally have a significant history as Thalyta Silva and Ingridd Alves enter. A long history between these 2, and not one that I would say is going to leave them getting dinner after any of their fights.
No, they have not been fans of each other. They are usually competing in the gi. Tonight they take that off. We are going no gi here tonight. These are the 2 people who faced off in the finals at Euros. They have a long history together. They have a little bit of a bad taste after this rivalry, right? Especially after their last match where it was a DQ win for Thalyta, and now they're going to get to run it back here on pay-per-view. And I feel like these one-on-one matches in terms of a rivalry can be so much more important than meeting in the finals of a tournament, right? Because a tournament, there's so many more things going on. It can be, one person's 3rd match, one person's 4th match. No, this is one-on-one, settling some of that bad score here between Thalyta and Ingridd.
And Ingridd makes her way down to the mat. And talking about the back and forth between these 2, you mentioned the DQ at Euros where arguably Ingridd was in a position where she certainly could have finished the knee bar maybe a bit to the side, ended up getting the disqualification, and that was part of Thalyta's 3 majors won this year, the Brazilian Nationals, Pans, and Euros. But then this fight moved off the mat and onto social media, and it began with Ingridd Alves posting a video where she talked about what she would say some shady behavior from her opponent, says that she's already taken blood from her and that Thalyta owes her a gi, called her out for a low submission rate, called her out, said she DQs to avoid fights that she's scared of, just nasty stuff. And one reply from Thalyta was very simple. How many world finals have you won? Stop talking.
She hates the way that she walks. She hates the way that she talks. She hates the way that she dresses. And now they're going to get to settle it here at BJJ Stars in a situation where that knee bar, by the way, from Euros is going to be legal here tonight. So I think that these girls are going to get a chance to really open up here. It's a little bit more physical of a rule set. And you can see that early.
Yeah, and the referee stepping in right out the moment.
He wants to make sure we're here for a jiu-jitsu match. He wants to make sure that we're here for grappling, not for MMA. If they want to go sign an MMA contract, they're welcome to do that. But, yeah, that, I think, will tell you about the intensity that these two are approaching this contest with.
And this is Dream Art and Fratris. You know that there's a lot of people from both those gyms in the crowd tonight.
Thalyta looking strong early. Ingridd has to do something to – they're going to put him back down, okay. I wasn't sure if they were going to restart that or how they were going to restart that. So Alves is going to be happy here to play guard. She is a little bit more of a guard player in the gi as well. But the gi guard and the no-gi guard are very different. If you don't have an ability to wrestle up, if you don't have an ability to attack legs, then attacking from the guard in no-gi has proven to be very difficult over the last few years. One difference-making position, I think, for her is she can get to the closed guard. She has a good closed guard, and here in no-gi it can be very, very helpful. There you see A-Rod, Ana Rodriguez, in the background, 2-time world champion, and a BJJ Stars veteran herself from Dream Art, one of the main reps out there. Good pass. Lima gets to the side, but you see Alves, like so many of these professional level female grapplers, has truly just an incredible level of guard retention. The flexibility, the dexterity, the ability to keep somebody within their guard is really nothing short of incredible for a lot of these female athletes.
The recovery very nice for the 2021 ADCC World Champion. And Ingridd Alves certainly knows how to play guard.
No, she wasn't.
Without the gi on.
She wasn't an ADCC champ. She might have won trials or something. But no, she did not win, unfortunately, did not win ADCC Worlds. Oh, looking at the arm, looking at the arm. So it's interesting to me that these two agreed to a no-gi match, considering they're both so much more gi-oriented historically. I think that, and especially since a lot of their bad blood has been regarding gi matches. And I think that that points to a willingness, right, for a lot of them to open up into new rule sets. I like that they're moving into different ways to start taking each other on. Lima had a good pass earlier. Let's get back to that pressure from top position, or she might get hit with a penalty. Even though we're not into points yet, there's a good look at the back. Even though we're not into points yet, she can get a penalty.
Many meetings between these two of them have ended by disqualification, each of them taking a victory that way. Two of them winning on points.
Every once in a while, there's just that one grappler that you don't like, and they just always end up in your bracket. And I think that we're looking at a little bit of that. And this is their chance to go after each other. I want to see them both open up a little bit more. Ingridd is not putting enough attacks from bottom to be able to really implement any kind of game. She's given Thalyta the opportunity to continue to look at these passes, and there was another small opportunity for Thalyta. One of these is eventually going to break through unless Alves can start to find some way to offer something back.
Sometimes when you care about beating the person so much, getting that extra bit of your engine going can be hard because of the fear of the stakes.
Yes.
Right? A loss to this person matters so much more.
Can't lose.
And trying to get around is Silva. No points, no advantages.
But we are into the points section of the match now.
pass would be critical at this stage.
Huge. Absolutely huge.
And under, searching, is Alves.
But again, it's that tricky retention. But this is a match that she's winning, right? If you are constantly retaining your guard with no offense, this could be a little something. That's a good little crunch on the shoulder that could start to be a little dangerous. Thalyta Silva, traditionally the gi player, went to the double unders, which can be a very safe position in the gi. No gi, it's a lot less. There's nowhere to grip. There's nowhere to hold on to. And you can start to open yourself up for exactly these kinds of situations.
And continuing to struggle.
She's still good. They're still working their way through this position here.
And we'll be back with the feed here in just a moment. A couple of challenges in the production. We are here in the U.S. taking this all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil. And when you do international competition like this, we are lucky enough to live in an age where we can watch the best jiu-jitsu players in the world compete in front of a packed house in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Watch it live, not on a tape delay, not 3 days later, 5 days later, not having to read about it. But of course, sometimes remote production does create some other challenges.
Really sorry about that, everybody. We're working really hard to get that feedback from Brazil. BJJ Stars always does a great job, and we are sure that they are on it right now. We're going to do our best to make sure that you see not just every fight that we have going on for the rest of the night, but to make sure you get to see the end of that match. Those guys were really going after it. Those girls, rather, were really going after each other. And I think we actually might have it back.
Yeah, I think we're about to get the feedback here in just a couple of moments, folks. So sit tight. And you were talking about, as we're still waiting for them to come back, we don't know what position we'll come back in. I'm assuming that maybe it has come back in a different way. You at home now are seeing that position, and they have separated from the position they were in beforehand. And as you were mentioning, that position in the gi may be more safe than it is in no gi. And these two continue to play the same game, but maybe we are seeing some of Ingridd Alves transitioning that game to the no gi a little bit more smoothly than we're seeing from Thalyta.
It can be, I think, a particular difficulty trying to get that guard to transition from gi to no gi, especially for some of the female athletes. We've seen that historically, who are so specialized on the lassos, on the collar sleeves, not as used to wrestling up, that it can be a little bit more difficult. And here you can see a lot of good guard passing work going left and right for Thalyta. She understands that she's put together a really strong fight here. Now here's that close guard that we were talking about a little bit earlier, but a little too late. Less than 10 seconds, and Thalyta is going to be able to ride out from top. I think she's done enough to win here from what I've seen, but we're going to see the crowd not loving the action. I think what you saw here was two people who really, really wanted to beat each other and felt the pressure on that.
And you know what? I enjoyed the opening few seconds. I think that someone needs to go ahead and book this one in a cage for a few rounds and let these two really take it the whole way, right? I mean, this was they're phenomenal jiu-jitsu players, and I would watch that one back again for sure. But this blood seems like it needs to be spilled maybe a bit more.
100%, and I think they have that ability. I think that them transitioning into no gi, that transition is going to continue to be a development for both of them, who are a little bit more used to the gi competition. Let's see who's going to get their hand raised at BJJ Stars 13. It is Thalyta, ultimately getting that hand raised, getting the victory. This one meant a lot to her, and I think when Ingridd watches this tape back, she's going to have a lot of opportunities to circle something and say, we could have gone here, we could have gone here. And I think that this is far from the end for both of them. This is not the definitive victory that either one of them, I think even Thalyta, is looking for.
No, they have a lot more competition left, both still in their athletic prime, and at the way that the level these two both compete, it's inevitable they will continue to crash into each other over and over again, and that's something that I think we all can enjoy.
Absolutely. Here we see some of the replays. We see some of those early replays of the hard hand fighting that really exemplified the emotional intensity coming into this match, that early wrestling. Here Thalyta getting that takedown. Ingridd happy to play from bottom, but not able to get anything started beyond her guard retention. Started to try to throw up some triangles, but it was Lima punishing from top, keeping pressure, keeping position, and shrugging off these submission attempts whenever Ingridd was able to get deeper onto anything.
And Ingridd did have a couple of spots where she threatened, and this is about where we lost our view for a couple of moments. But she had a couple of spots where she really threatened, and you know, you have to imagine that a big part of the judge's decision here was how well Ingridd Alves mitigated that danger consistently.
Big time. She was never in any deep danger worth talking about. She was the one who put Ingridd down. She was the one who put the pressure on the guard. And I think that she was the clear winner at the end of the day. I think she was the one who was able to bring the offensive jiu-jitsu. But ultimately, we just need to see more.
Well, more we will have very soon. 4 fights down, 8 to go. We'll be right back. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was tough. That was.
And welcome back. We are now getting into sort of a treat section of tonight's card, a fight that was supposed to originally be on our main card and making it into our prelims due to a slight adjustment to what was happening tonight. We have Francisco Chico Low up against Gabriel Galvão. Of course, this was not supposed to be Chico's original opponent.
No, this is Francisco's second opponent. Originally, he was supposed to take on Tynan Dalp here on this card on the co-main event. Tynan was not able to compete. He actually became a United States citizen today, I believe. Congratulations to Tynan. And instead, Francisco is going to have to take on a very tough up-and-coming young prospect, Gabriel Galvão. I'm really excited to see how this fight turns out. Francisco is one of the best gunslingers in this division, always goes hard. Really exciting to watch. Ton of highlight wins. Was able to earn a silver medal at the World Championships here this year. And Gabriel is a guy who can do a lot to mess with that momentum. I'm really excited to see how this one turns out.
Well, you talk about that gunslinging in the side of Chico. This is a player who has the same rate of submissions both in his wins and in his losses, 56% on both sides of those, versus this young man who's making his debut competitively as a black belt.
It's fantastic. He had a fantastic career as a brown belt, as a color belt. He was one of those guys that you were able to circle pretty early on and understand that he was going to be an impactful player here at black belt. And now he is getting a chance to jump into the deep end of that pool. Francisco had a controversial match at Worlds this year with Tynan, but he ultimately was able to advance all the way to the finals. Had a great, great tournament, I thought. Tynan match aside, which I know is very controversial. And now this is a really important one for him because there's still a lot of people who are putting question marks around him. I think for him to come out and have a great performance would really cement that performance at Worlds was not an aberration.
And first entering the mat, Francisco Lo, the 23-year-old, a black belt 2 years ago under Cicero Costa.
Every time I see this kid, he has a new haircut. He'll cycle back through some favorites, but like every single time is different for sure.
7 wins this year alone by submission, 4 losses by submission as well. Keep an eye on the triangle of Chico that's been doing very well so far this year. Submitted 3 in a row at American Nationals to win gold in 88 kilos, followed by second place in the absolute division. We'll see if he gets that triangle moving tonight against the debuting black belt Gabriel Galvão.
He's an absolute killer. He is super physical. He is somebody who puts a premium on being very exciting. He is somebody who has some varied stuff, but yeah, that triangle can come out of nowhere, and it makes him very, very dangerous. Speaking of very dangerous, that's what Gabriel Galvão is to me. He is a guy who could really shake up things here tonight, facing the number 2 ranked Francisco Lo.
Very curious to see what his nerves are like making
it's the biggest match of his career.
Biggest
right?
match of his life. I mean, this is a guy who he did just come off of winning Worlds as a brown belt, but that does not have the same level of eyes as what he's experiencing.
I mean, one guy was in the world finals at black belt. It is obviously these colored belts are so special these days, but man, there is a difference. Yep, there's the foot sweep, the guard pull, and these early attacks from Francisco are going to come very aggressively.
And this is smart from Francisco to make Gabriel get into the fight early where he's still kind of letting his nerves settle.
I agree. Don't give him any time. Let him know who's boss early. It's going to be as much a tactical mental battle. There's the deep de la Hiva, nice deep de la Hiva where he's able to control that far hip. It's going to be as much a battle there as it is physical or technical. Good deep closed guard. And this is not the worst position for Galvão to start to take his time and work his way into the fight. Working from top, looking for something to open up here.
And a couple of moments to maybe settle his breathing could be nice early on too. Very early in this fight, 6 minutes to go.
This is IBJJF rules, points scored the entire time, advantages and penalties, not negatives, in effect for this match.
And that left side control.
You see this a lot lately is the double sleeve, double lasso kind of guard. It's usually a position where guys are starting to try to, and there he's shooting the triangle. It's usually a position where guys are trying to chill out from. Francisco is one of those guys who does use it very offensively and throws up a lot of triangles. Felipe Andrews coming up later is another example of that, somebody who does a good job being aggressive from the double sleeve. Not everybody is, but those are 2 examples of guys who are.
Referee there adjusting. I think the foot might have been caught in the gi a little bit.
Yeah.
And now trying to really put some pressure on with that knee on the inside is Galvão. But so far, Francisco has not even considered, and now he lets go.
Through, but he stepped through almost into like a Leandro Lo style sweep from Francisco Lo, who's going to come up. No relation.
That might be the most important and commonly used phrase in jiu-jitsu.
Francisco Lo, Leandro Lo, to my knowledge, no relation.
Now talk to me a little bit, Joe, about this position as they're fighting.
So technically, like a leg locker would look at this and say that Gabriel has an outside ashi, although I wouldn't say in the gi it's quite the same thing. Francisco is trying to stay on top and keep good control of that foot, but it's going to be unlikely for him to score a submission. If anyone has a good submission position, it probably would be Gabriel there, but now you see they're starting to move apart a little bit more.
And we'll see if they choose to try to re-engage this or if someone creates some separation. And this has been very sticky from Francisco all night. I think every moment we've seen where Gabriel's maybe tried to create a little separation for a moment and rethink things. Francisco, as we mentioned earlier, just continuing to not give Gabriel a chance to breathe or to contemplate.
No, showing a lot of respect for him. He understands that Gabriel is a young, talented kid with a big opportunity in front of him. And now you see the lapel starting to come out for Francisco.
Talk about Gabriel's brown belt campaign in 2024. First at Brazilian Nationals, first at Euros, first at Worlds. And that's a mixture of absolute and weight.
He was a total stud all year. There's no question he was one of the most impressive brown belts here in 2024. As now he starts to jump in himself, but that was not maybe the position. When you have the single leg up, maybe not the time to jump the triangle. Now he's going to have to play from bottom after he gives up 2 points here to Francisco Lowe. They're going to give 2 for the sweep there because technically Francisco Lowe was still in guard there. If it's a reversal that starts in the guard, they're always going to give that 2.
Francisco did appear on our last edition of BJJ Stars 12, where he was submitted by guillotine by Isaque Bahiense, who will be featured later tonight.
Absolutely. More of that gunslinging, man. And Isaque is so tough as well.
Two and a half minutes remaining in this one. Currently 2-point lead for Francisco.
Gabriel doing some good work from his guard. And now Francisco electing to step into a very similar position that almost earned him the sweep earlier. That same Leandro Lowe style sweep from earlier.
You see Gabriel think about getting a hold of that knee on the far side. Thinks better of it. And once again, considering, what are the options for Gabriel from this position?
For Gabriel, he should try to get control of both legs, and he is. With his right hand, he's starting to get there. And then he has to find some way to upset the balance of Francisco Lowe. If he's in a low balance position, it's going to be hard for him to do anything. Right now, he's starting to try to use his right leg to hook and start to search around for the back. The angle does exist. You see he has his right hand gripping the pants. He's going to use that to climb up. You can really tell he has the right hand gripping the pants. He's going to use that to climb up here. Francisco Lowe elects to give up the position and move to a reverse closed guard. That should end up being a tying 2 points for Gabriel Galvão. But a good toe hold opportunity here from Francisco Lowe. He's got a great toe hold. Man, look at the power that he's putting on that.
He is really trying to crank that over.
He might open himself up for the knee bar, though. If you're thinking about a toe hold, the knee bar is also going to be an option. This reverse close guard has become a very popular position for a lot of people. I believe he used this in the World Semifinals this year as well. And it's so popular because what are the options that Gabriel has? They're very limited, right? Meanwhile, Francisco has a great attack on the foot anytime he wants it. Are they going to give an advantage for that?
Not able to really get his hands in a finishing position for it, unfortunately.
He had a good look at it, but he wasn't able to get enough torque and enough response to get that advantage. A lot of times with those toe holds, they can come on and maybe you're not sure if it's on or not until the tap comes. So what they're looking for is the response from the defending fighter. Does he roll? Does he look like he's in pain? Is he really fighting the grip like the submission is coming? And it looks like this one's going to go to a decision. Gabriel nodding. He has a shot here at winning. It's going to be interesting to see who the judges favor.
And maybe trying to give a little extra to the judges there.
Yeah. Let's see who they favor. I think Francisco Lowe might have gotten it, but this one really could go either way.
Francisco was certainly the aggressor early on, and we saw him doing a really fine job of forcing Gabriel to engage.
And remember back, it was kind of a tactical error in that jumping triangle, which gave Francisco the 2 points. I think Gabriel's going to go back, watch that tape, and say, oh, maybe I didn't have to give up the points there. Maybe I could have managed the match a little bit differently, and this 2-2 decision would go a little differently. Let's see who the judges give it to.
And what a big win for young Gabriel Galvão in his black belt debut, doing just enough. And you can see Francisco Lowe maybe a little surprised as a shrug from his coach.
What an announcement from Gabriel Galvão to take a world silver medalist and defeat him in your debut match at black belt. This kid could have a special future coming. He just proved it here at BJJ Stars 13.
What a coming out party.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Fought exciting, fought for the win, was able to come up on top, show some really strong strategy. Man, these kids who are debuting at black belt, they are ready to go against the best of the best. Here you see him collect both legs and start to knock back. That's Francisco Low on bottom. From there, it started to become a back and forth battle, back and forth battle. Both guys hunting leg locks, both guys really pushing for the good position. Here you see the jumping triangle that gives Francisco Low the points that he scored with, and I think it might have been in the judge's mind that the 2 points Francisco got were kind of given, right? But the 2 points that Gabriel got, he had to really fight hard for and earn, and I feel like that might have been something that they thought about at the end of the day. Francisco Low doing his best to manage the top position. Here he gives up those 2 points. He has no choice at that point. Moves to a reverse close guard and starts hunting the legs. He's really, really banging on this toe hold. It doesn't end up netting him an advantage, even though he did have a bite on it, but they didn't think it went far enough. And it's Gabriel Galvão who rides out that top position. They give him the victory at the end of the day. Crazy, crazy result here on the undercard.
The debut you hope for as a new competitor on BJJ Stars, a new star rising here in Gabriel Galvão. More coming right at you after this. Welcome back. 5 fights finished and just had a tremendous debut at black belt for Gabriel Galvão with a win over not just a good competitor, but a big name in Francisco Low. And you were talking about that slight difference, Joe, in the points given to Francisco Low, the points earned by Gabriel Galvão. And in your mind, is that the difference that made it for these judges?
I'm trying to guess what the judges might have been thinking, and I think that might have ended up being impactful, whether they were thinking about it in those terms or not. Both of those exchanges were still kind of on Gabriel's terms, and I think that is meaningful. And I think that is a stunning result from a young Fratres black belt who is it's only going to give him so much more confidence. He's usually a gi guy. His big tournaments at black belt aren't going to be until January. He has a lot of time in the gym to improve, and he just showed himself that if he goes all in, he can compete with some of the best in the world. So I'm really excited for Gabriel Galvão, not just tonight, but what that means for a young guy like him moving forward.
And it was a gritty performance, too,
100%.
right? It was one where he really had to fight to get those points back. We saw how tired he was late in the match, and we were talking about that, making your debut in a show this big with this kind of camera, this kind of attention. The difference in your energy management can be so challenging, and the ability to find it at the end to finish is really big.
100%. These matches are a little bit faster paced than your traditional, like IBJJF, for example, style match. They're only 6-7 minutes, and so these guys need to go out here and push that pace. And we're seeing a lot of these guys leave it all out there, and that's what we really like to see. In this next match, I know I'm really excited for when we have Fabio Caloi taking on, I believe it's Servio Tulio.
That's going to be a really, really fun one. Caloi, 19 armbar finishes in his competitive career, which is, we often see the finishes kind of spread out a bit more unless you're a leg lock specialist. This is a guy who's an arm specialist up against Servio Tulio, who is the 2017 World's No-Gi Brown Belt champion, who's looking to get a big-time no-gi win here tonight.
For sure. Servio been in these streets a long time. ADCC veteran. Servio, he fought there, I believe, 2019. He is taking on Fabio, who is about to make his debut at ADCC in just a few weeks. So this is a really important tune-up match for him. People may not be as aware of Fabio Caloi and who he is. He's an absolute savage. He's one of Alliance's best black belts, and he is a finisher, ladies and gentlemen. He is a guy who comes and fights really hard. He had a great run through the trial circuit this year at South American Trials. Didn't end up golding at either, but he was impressive enough that he became a reserve at ADCC when a spot opened up. He was able to slide in.
One of the more senior black belts here at this weekend's competition earned his belt in 2014 after grabbing gold at Pans and Brazilian Nationals in Brown.
For sure.
You talk about that age, too. He's of a generation like mine where he got into martial arts like many 90s kids from Jean-Claude Van Damme and Jackie Chan movies.
What an OG, what a savage. A lot of respect here between those guys. We've seen some matches here tonight that have some bad blood. We're going to see some more that have some bad blood. These guys just like to scrap. These guys, they could be your best pal. They want to go out there, collar tie hard, move forward, head first, and scrap it up. And we're going to see a lot of that.
I think this one's going to mean a lot to Servio Tulio tonight, who's currently on a 3-fight losing streak, including losses in the first round of Worlds, both in weight and in absolute, including a loss to Leo Lara at 88 kilograms. And you do not want to be on a 4-fight skid.
It's tough, man. Servio is definitely somebody who is looking for a resurgence in his career. He is looking for a win that can spark something. He's looking for a run that can spark something. He is always entering the toughest tournaments, always facing the best guys. And when you do that, you're just going to take losses. But he is always very competitive at least, or usually at least very competitive with even the top-level guys.
Always been competitive. As a teenager, was the 10th-ranked tennis player in the country of Brazil.
No kidding.
And, of course, he's translated that athletic ability to being a phenomenal jiu-jitsu player.
Big time. Caloi really leads with his head on defense, and you'll see a lot of times he can end up getting split open. He has a good amount of scar tissue over those eyes from just that.
Something fell onto the mat on the edge. Might have been a loss of mouthpiece or something else.
It was some kind of something. Right back to it, and you're seeing Servio being the one moving forward. You're seeing Servio being the guy putting the aggression on early, and that's interesting because I would consider Caloi to be very positionally strong in these positions usually. Really speaks to the physical strength and the positioning work here of Tulio and the energy that he's expending earlier.
Well, you talked some about that idea that Tulio is looking for a resurgence, and with the opportunities available in...
Oh.
Ooh, okay.
I wasn't sure how far. I wasn't sure if there was a ramp or not on the outside. I wasn't sure if they were about to go falling off.
As I was saying, though, with the opportunities that are presenting themselves in no-gi grappling these days, Tulio would love to put on a show here tonight and let the promoters know that he's the kind of guy who should be on cards like this.
100%. He's a guy who is known for coming in and putting on a good fight and always being in a scrap. And he is somebody who's been training hard. He's training with Gracie Baja and Felipe Pena and those boys in Belo Horizonte all the time. I know that's where he was getting ready for ADCC trials. Man, we were down there filming ADCC right before the South American trials, he was in the room. He got in a wild wrestling scrap, and he came up with a big cut over his forehead. And trials were in like a day or two. No problem, just taped it up, went right out there, big gash on his head, who cares? Still put on scrap after scrap. He's a total animal.
Caloi there may have taken a little part of a finger to an eye maybe in some of those hand-fighting exchanges.
Like I said, he leads with his head. That's sort of the price of admission. Neither one of these guys taking these big attacks, though. This has been a sumo match, right? A lot of pushing, a lot of pulling. But with points about to kick in, I'm hoping these guys feel like they've cooked the match long enough. It's time to really get to the serious action. Especially Caloi, looking at this as like an ADCC preparation match. You want to see the aggression, right? Because when he goes to ADCC, he's likely to have a top seed. He could have a guy like Mica Galvão, very first round. And when you face one of those top guys like that, scared money don't make money. You got to be a guy who pushes the fight forward.
Well, pushing the fight out into the crowd one more time is Caloi, and I do enjoy seeing this, though. These guys, no one's getting chippy about it. They just both know they're going hard.
No, like I said, there's no bad feeling. They're just scrapping. And now here's the hands locked for Caloi. They're going to do their best to keep this position. Referee trying to shove him into the center. Tulio not looking like he wants to go to the center.
And you could incur some problems.
Oh, and they break.
You're not allowed to continuously escape to out of bounds to undue position.
100%. It is one of the things that really sets ADCC rules apart is how far out of bounds they are willing to let you fight, and how they will just walk you right back to the center if you have some kind of lock or if you have some kind of good position. How they try to reset you is a little bit unique to that ADCC rule set. And again, it's Tulio being the one controlling the center of the mat. It's not much, but in a fight where not much happens, it really can be important.
And it's interesting, right? You talk about not much, but this doesn't really seem like a problem of passivity. It seems like they are just both reacting so well to the other that. And wow! Oh my word! Tulio and Caloi go flying over what might be a box or a speaker, either way.
Or a fan.
A dangerous moment for everybody here.
They consult with the ADCC referees about what the position and the situation is going to be. They just restart him from the feet again. Look at this replay. It's going to be almost a lat drop action from Tulio turning and pivoting back to center. And Caloi wanted to run him off the mats, and he was the one who ended up getting tossed a little bit there.
I think and you saw Tulio check the position. He knew that edge was coming. 2 minutes left.
Caloi has to do a better job of controlling center. And they keep headbutting, and they keep finding a little bit of scrappiness in there.
Oh, boy. And, you don't talk about scar tissue very often in jiu-jitsu, but that looks like that could be a similar spot to what you were mentioning.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is very similar. And when you have a hard headbutting wrestling style, I've mentioned it a couple of times, Caloi is leading with that head. And there's only so many times that can happen against somebody who has a cut that is relatively recent before you start to see something like this. I feel like we gave people a good warning. I said there's a cut there. I said he leads with his head. Man, and there comes the head and there comes the cut.
Well, let's see if we can identify quite when it happens. The head is clean for the moment.
It doesn't take a lot of impact to open up that head. And it might have been on that little bonk on that
there
snap.
it is right there. You can see it begin to open. Wow.
Up. And yeah, it was just a little half snap of the elbows and shoulders and hands. Hey, Damian Maia in the crowd. MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, legend Damian Maia. It was just that little half snap from Fabio Caloi that pulled his forehead together. It was an inadvertent headbutt. It's just it's just their styles, and them meeting in the middle so many times. It's almost inevitable for something like this to happen. Both these guys are warriors. They're going to get right back out there as soon as the medical staff here at BJJ Stars gets it handled. There's a lot of match left to go. And hopefully this can give both guys a chance to take a breath, to take stock of where you are in the match. It's a totally tied match with 2 minutes left, and we're going to get a nice sprint going.
Let's take a look at some of the earlier moments. This is going to be that careening out of bounds. You can see just Tulio kind of sighting the spot.
He pivoted, right? He was able to jack up that underhook. and take that momentum out of bounds. And there's that little half snap.
It'll be right here. Boom.
And the back is kind of to us, but you can see the pull in. There's nothing intentional about that. But you can see the blood start to open up on Servio's forehead.
So how does this work going forward? How
my guess is they're gonna just give him like a Burroughs style wrap, where they wrap around the forehead, mummy style, and they're gonna do that like a big job to keep it together. We've seen that with plenty of grapplers over the years. I've seen that on Fabio Caloi many times actually. I call it a Burroughs wrap for some in wrestling, also known as a Gable wrap. Famous for Dan Gable always having one of those, led with his forehead all the time. Jordan Burroughs also had it a bajillion times because he shot with his forehead. So I call it a Burroughs wrap. The kids are calling it.
Yes, they are. It's a skibbity wrap, I think is what
skibbity
they're calling it now. And what does this do for these fighters? This is a long break.
It is a long break. So a long break I don't like in the middle of a match. I feel like you start to lose the rhythm of everything that was going on, and it almost starts to be like a brand new match, right? And they are going to bandage it up right here. I don't know how big of a bandage we're looking at. But to me, you always want to get the action back in quicker, right? Because now we have 2 minutes, and that's a short amount of time. We have a nice sprint, but both these guys are also fully recovered and ready to defend everything as much as they're ready to attack everything.
Here's one more look from a different angle, and you'll see them circle to the left a little bit, and that boom!
Oh, you saw the whiplash of Servio's head. He was caught unaware, certainly, by that snap down, and there's the headbutt.
And you can see Fabio pointing, bro, your head.
Yeah, here comes the Burroughs wrap. Here it comes, and they got to clean off the bottom.
Let's look at that angle one more time here.
Yeah, one more time.
That was really gave you such a clear vision on how violent that moment was.
Oof.
Back to our original
angle.
Yep.
I believe this is the same wrap I saw Servio with at ADCC Trials. So it is boom. You see the whiplash. It is certainly not new to him to be able to compete with this, so I don't think it's going to have a big negative impact on his performance or anything, but just the problem is short time now. These guys got to come out and they got to wrestle. And there's no hard feelings. There's no bad anything, but I think the referee is telling him, hey, bro, we got 2 minutes left. Let's put some points on the board.
Do you still give the slight edge to Tulio here?
I do. He's controlled center a little bit more. I think Fabio needs to give something, right? What has Fabio done in this match here? Oh, but there's the arm drag, and there is a nice throw down. Beautiful double leg, plants him down, unable to hold him down. Servio does a great job of getting right back up to his feet and reestablishing himself right in the center. That wrap is already messed up. That's what you want to see. Yeah. Let him go. Let him go. Everybody's pals. Let him fight.
90 seconds left, and we'll see if they can avoid opening that head up even more. Tulio.
I think Caloi handled that perfectly. Take the long break, come right back out, and make something happen. But don't let that be the only thing you make happen. Because right now, that is the biggest action of the fight. But there's been a lot of backing up and circling away from him. That's impactful too. I think he needs more. Big breath from him.
Slap hands one more time. 70 seconds left.
Notice Caloi right back to the edge, right? And part of that can be he wants to use the edge if he's going out of bounds to be able to not have to give up the takedown, but it makes it harder for him as well to be able to go chase what he wants. Oh, another person. Somebody called Devon. Let's get the tables. These guys are putting each other through everything here tonight.
Well, Dudley's these guys are not, despite the head wrap giving you some nice 90s vibes.
Nice ECW stuff, right? 40 seconds left, and I think this match is very much in the margins for either guy to be able to sway the judges, let alone put some points on the board. 30 seconds.
All it takes is one. Who's going to be the one who...
Looks like they might just hold position. I don't know if either guy's going to take that final shot.
You got to put your stamp on it.
You would hope, because it's very close right now. I'm not sure who the judges are going to give this to. I really could see this going either way. Caloi had the great takedown attempt here late in regulation, but it's been that constant pressure from Servio and some very close attempts out of bounds that he wasn't able to convert on. And that's the match. Both guys are raising their hands. They feel like they've done enough to win.
And for people watching at home who are maybe used to more of the gi scoring, we did see that takedown attempt, but obviously nothing on the board for that.
No advantages. So in ADCC rules, there's no advantages. If something doesn't score, it doesn't score.
And it might be confusing to some of you at home who still see the advantage in the...
It's a very black and white thing. It's like football, right? If you don't get in the end zone, you don't get any points. Both corners also feel like they've done enough to win. Gonna be somebody walking home disappointed. Caloi gets it off of that big takedown attempt.
And definitely some excitement in the crowd as the 35-year-old Caloi.
Big time. Caloi's significant other, I'm assuming, was also in his corner. Super fired up for him. Man, that was a close match. If you are Servio, it is that one exchange from Caloi that ended up being the difference maker. That was a huge moment for him. He handled that perfectly coming out of the break, putting something right on Servio and being the aggressor there. And that was the closest anyone got to making something impactful happen. As such, he is the one who gets the win.
And for a fight where so little happened, this was still a really exciting match. The hand fighting, the position, the continual flying out of bounds, of course, the blood drawn that we saw. But this was really the story, was the edge play over and over again here.
Big time. This was no staring contest despite the scoreboard being 0-0. You see there's no penalties. Clearly the judges agreed. And that's because both these guys did come here and scrap. They were snapping, they were pushing, they were looking for something. But ultimately they were very evenly matched, and it was Caloi who was able to just stick his nose out over the finish line, and there's that drag that he transitioned into the leg attack. Tulio kicks him up and over to avoid giving up the score, but Caloi looking really good in that exchange.
And it's interesting, you talk about how in ADCC rules there are no advantage points, even if there might be some of the score bug still shows consistency throughout our broadcast. But we are going to have talk about that a little bit more on the back end. More Jiu-Jitsu coming your way very soon. Don't go anywhere. Well, hopefully you've gotten some ginger ale and settled your stomach. If the blood turned you a little bit in our previous matchup, hopefully that will be the only blood drawn on the evening. Of course, in combatives, you never know what will happen, but a tightly contested matchup, and you and I were talking during the break, Joe, the no advantages given in the ADCC rules, but a takedown like that still plays a scoring role in the judges' eyes if they make a decision.
Absolutely. There's no official credit given for a near takedown or near scoring in ADCC rules, but when it comes to the judge's decision, of course they're going to remember, okay, he almost scored with this, he almost came close with that, and I think ultimately that's what did the trick for Fabio Caloi. He's been training so much in these ADCC rules, didn't do any of the gi tournaments this year like Servio. We see he's been dipping into the gi a little bit, and I think ultimately that specification and specialization was very impactful here tonight in that little singular exchange that ended up being the difference maker.
It was a big difference maker, and of course, difference for a lot of these guys as they prepare for ADCC. And here at FloGrappling, lots of fun stuff coming down very soon. Happy to have you here alongside Joe Gilpin. I'm Rich Slayton, and we have our next match coming up, which will be a whole lot of fun between Wellington Luis and Gabriel Costa.
Really excited. These are both two of the pretty exciting bigger guys. We have Brazilian national champion taking on a familiar foe. And I think that this is going to be a fantastic gi matchup for everybody to enjoy.
Wellington Luis from Cicero Costa School earned his black belt in 2015.
Alemão. Coming to the mat, a consistent feature at all the top tournaments. Somebody who has given fits to a lot of the top guys. Still kind of looking for his breakout moment in a lot of ways at the highest levels. But he is somebody who I think everybody understands can be a threat to absolutely anybody on earth.
Well, and you could say more success as a colored belt than he's had as a black belt. And part of that is the 0-3 record he has against the man he's facing tonight in Gabriel Costa.
Gabriel Costa Maranhão is a super tough black belt. These guys, like you said, are familiar foes, facing off one more time at least. And I think that, man, like we said, facing off in a tournament like these guys have always done is one thing. Facing off one-on-one, you know who your opponent's going to be. You get to prepare specifically for one person. I think it can be a little bit different. And I think that for Alemão, that is certainly what he's hoping for tonight.
You're talking about 26-year-old Gabriel Costa, the stock up as he took his first win in a major recently with a gold at Brazilian Nationals.
He looked fantastic there.
So here we go, one of our remaining gi matches, a couple more later tonight. Kick things off with Wellington Luis in the blue, Gabriel Costa.
I think
currently crisp whites.
I think for Alemão, I think he needs to be the one to make something happen earlier, right? There's a little bit shorter of a fight. I think that's good news for him as well. He's getting to the lapel. I think for him to start to set the engagement is going to be really smart, because with somebody like Gabriel, who has owned this series, he's 3-0 in this series. If you let him get back into his good positions, the confidence is going to grow, and the night's going to get just that much harder.
You talk about that major win at Brazilian Nationals a few months back. That's a meaningful one for Gabriel, not only because, of course, that was his first, but during his rise, he won pretty much everything you could in Brazil, but missed out on a lot of the big events. Missed out on Pans, missed out on Worlds, because at the time he couldn't get a visa to the U.S. Finally did, and got some good competition. Took a couple medals at American Nationals last year, and then now finally converted that to his first major.
He's a super tough kid, man. He's super tough. Yeah, definitely an underrated guy, one of these bigger guys. I think he fights at medium heavy usually. And somebody who was most impressive at Brazilian Nationals. He had a really tough bracket, actually, and he was able to navigate it with relative ease. And now this is a big opportunity that win at Brazilian Nationals netted him. It netted him a big spot here on a pay-per-view card like this, and now it's up to him to see how he is going to capitalize on that.
Wellington Luis grew up just a few blocks away from Cicero Costa's very famous academy, but didn't start until he was 16 years old. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, went on to have a phenomenal performance in the colored belts.
Hey, Cicero Costa is a great academy. There's no surprise there. You see Alemão doing a good job with the elevations, trying to get Gabriel Costa's weight moving. Costa is having to really stay far back to make sure that he is not letting Alemão get too under him, not letting that balance get upset too often.
You see the grip from Alemão on that low part of the jacket on the right-hand side, trying to see if he can maybe worm that around a leg at some point.
He's trying to play a lapel guard. He's using that lapel, that long lapel, almost like a spider hook to keep a nice distance away. It's very difficult, unlike a regular spider guard where you can grip fight your way back in. It's very difficult because you don't have a limb attached naturally to that lapel. So the grip fighting becomes very different.
And a little brief respite for these two as they maybe
a little reset on the grips. Yeah, a little reset on the grips is all it is.
Maybe taking
referee stepping in. Yeah, he's going to reset and clean the grip and move them back to the center. So it's impossible, in my opinion, it's impossible to totally reset a jiu-jitsu position. Oh, a penalty.
Wow.
Penalty, it looks like for stalling, I'm going to say. If it had been one way or the other, it might have been like not listening to commands or anything. But I think they're saying that neither guy was making enough happen there, so we're giving penalty both ways. We're going to stand this back up. And now it's Gabriel Costa who jumps to guard. He's going to look to get something going. Notice how he has control of that far leg, but is unable to keep it.
Trying to keep that left arm on the inside is Costa.
He is. He's playing a good left side with the lasso, right side with the pants grip, and can go to the De La Hiva anytime he wants. So now he's controlling the left upper part and the right lower part of his opponent. It makes it very difficult to do anything with that cross control when you have it set up like that. And Alemão decides instead just to go into the close guard and handle things from there rather than, and now we see the lapel coming out the other way. A lot of times it can be easier to handle the close guard than somebody's very tricky open guard. You get to kind of reset. But now Gabriel Costa is into this squid guard, as it's known. He has a good grip with that right hand. He's going to look to start inverting on it.
It's interesting. You talk about the meta of a match where sometimes you'll see the idea that one player makes in a match influence the ideas the other will make in a similar position later on.
Mm-hmm. Both these guys are trading lapel guard, right? Both these guys understand the value that adding a lapel into your guard can bring. Referee calling for a stop in action. Again, going to move them back to the center. 2.5 minutes. Either guy can go ahead and win this match. Neither guy's been able to really establish anything crazy on here. And they're going to give another penalty and another 2 points. So one difference here in BJJ Stars that we need to realize is there's a difference to IBJJF. Unlike IBJJF, they do not have that initial penalty that doesn't count for anything. It's always going to go right to the first one is the advantage, the second one is the points, right? So it's instead of 3 penalties in your DQ, or 4 penalties in your DQ, now it's only 3. So if either one of these guys gets another penalty, this match is over.
Certainly puts a fire under you to make sure that passivity begins to dwindle.
Big time, because they're giving it both ways. They're not favoring guard play. They're not favoring top play. They're saying both you guys need to be working. This is not enough. And now again, it's a very similar guard. Back the other way. Morano starting to get to a good angle. Alemão is able to hold that lasso though.
Trying to run around the corner, can't quite free himself. Final 90 seconds approaching. But as you say, Morano maybe with some more threatening opportunities.
There he gets that angle again, and it's going to be the left leg, the top leg of Wellington that's going to determine how successful he is in this position. He's able to weave it back in. Another good attempt, and it's going to be just a matter of time if Alemão cannot find a way to stop the attempts at the pass until Gabriel Costa breaks through with one of these. Because it's only going to take one advantage, one something, one anything to be able to put yourself ahead.
Well, you also have to imagine with how many of these we've had go all the way and not by points, the action here from Gabriel Costa being impactful as well.
100%. 100% he's making a very good case for himself late.
40 seconds left.
A lot of times, it's not a set rule, but a lot of times a judge's favor or a judge's decision will go to the guard player. I don't know if that'll be the case because it's been a lot of holding on from Wellington compared to these deep passing attempts. And another one from Gabriel Costa, rather.
And Wellington looked like for a second he might be trying to dive under, got stymied.
Pulls him back into the closed guard. That's where the match is going to die. So it's going to be a close match. But I think that ultimately Gabriel Costa, with those passing attempts in the late portion, really did a lot to convince the crowd, convince the judges that he should come away with the victory here.
Well, we have to wait a few seconds to find out for sure. And neither one looking supremely confident.
Both guys know this was a close match. There's Morano starting to pump it up. Both guys starting to try to make their case, but I think they both understand either hand could get raised here. Yep.
And there you go.
It is the top work, the passing work of Gabriel Costa, able to sway the judges here in a tied match late. He is going to walk away as the winner, as the victor here at BJJ Stars 13.
He wasn't able to ever turn those into a true advantage moment. Not quite a near pass, but consistently forcing Alemão to change and adjust and react and never really return the favor, if you will.
There's near passes and then there's near passes. And ultimately Gabriel was able to pick up a lot of near passes. And when you talk about a decision that's that close, that's what you're looking at. Who nearly scored. And ultimately that was him. Here we see a lot of the fight. We see a lot of these guys working back and forth from their guard. Both guys trying to find that little advantage, find that path to victory. Neither one is able to make anything crazy happen. But here we see some of that top work, working through that lasso that ultimately I think was the determining factor, the deciding factor when it came to the win and the lose.
And valiant work from Wellington Luis to prevent those from ever becoming true passes or true near passes, right? Keeping that second one on the entire time.
I agree. He showed a great flexibility. He showed a great dexterity and guard in terms of keeping that lasso, but he ultimately wasn't able to make anything offensive happen, right? He was able to get a little bit, some scoops here. We see a little bit of K-guard attempts here, but ultimately it's Gabriel Costa's day.
Gabriel Costa taking the win. More jiu-jitsu coming your way in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back to BJJ Stars 13 Vikings Edition. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Joe Gilpin talking you through the action here tonight as we get this live from Sao Paulo. Some of the biggest names in Jiu-Jitsu coming off of some great Worlds performances, getting ready for ADCC coming up. And, you know, you talk about two guys who would like to get some good performances under their belts. The next two coming up, Alejandro Jesus and Isaque Bahiense, both may be on a bit of a drought finding gold. Would love to find a gold trophy tonight.
Absolutely. They're both some of the best in Brazil. Gi, no gi, they're both incredible. They both won at the highest level and fought all the best guys all around the world. I'm so excited for that fight coming in a no gi match. Isaque Bahiense was going to ADCC, had to pull out. Robinho going to his second ADCC. That's going to be super exciting. Man, this is going to be an awesome match. Both these guys always deliver. They both have such a strong connection to the Brazilian crowd, to the Brazilian fans, that I think neither guy is going to want to have a bad performance more than a loss. I think neither guy wants to go out and have a bad performance. And so I think that that's going to be a real treat for us here as we start to move into some of this main card action, as we get some of these bigger names, some of these spicier matchups. Let's get going.
We do have some really spicy matchups, and you talk about, we'll get to some of those later, because there is some big names, so maybe reshuffling of the board in terms of who's where, jiu-jitsu hierarchy potentially coming up later tonight. But in this fight in front of us, we talk about these two guys who both have a lot of great history. You talk about some of their successes in the past, in particular outside of gi competition. Both these guys certainly have the pedigree there. But you start to think about, when you get into this stage in your career, both guys starting to approach 30, where do you start getting those last few golds? When does the gold begin to dry up, and when does it go from 1849 in California to 1855?
That's a great question, and I think that's a really interesting question for this match, because Isaque Bahiense announced earlier this year that he was going to be done with gi competition, and he is done with gi competition. He is, or at least like world championships and IBJJF competition and chasing those world titles. And instead, he's focusing more on an MMA career. He's focusing more on no gi. And I think that this is a big sign for that, right? He usually comes to BJJ Stars. He competes in the gi. He has such a strong connection with this organization. He's had some of his best performances ever have been at BJJ Stars. He has just a really deep history here. That for him to come out and have a no-gi match, I'm really excited to see how it goes. He was originally meant to face off with Lucas Hulk Barboza. Hulk had to withdraw for some reason. He is replaced by Alejandro Jesus. That is Robinho. He is a two-time ADCC Trials champion. He is one of the best no-gi grapplers in the country. He is an absolute menace. He is an athletic freak. I'm really excited to see how these guys go. Bahiense is so locked in every time he competes here in BJJ Stars. He wants to come out. He wants to be a dog on this guy. But it is tough to dog on Robinho. I am so excited for this one.
He really wants to have a performance that outstrips what he did last time when he beat Francisco Lowe with a guillotine in BJJ Stars 12, and then got absolutely run through by Felipe Andrew, losing at 11 as zero.
But part of the problem there was he fell on his head in the middle of the match, and I think he had some issue with that. We're stuck in a guillotine early.
Wow.
He has a dangerous guillotine. He has a dangerous guillotine. He has finished people from here, and this is a nice arm-in version. He is getting the hips connected, and he is putting a lot of squeeze on that. You see the nod.
Leg is held, and right now Alejandro is trying to survive. Keep that blood going in his head, and he gets out.
Incredible, but a big early submission attempt. Still in the no points period, still in the anything goes period. But man, Bahiense, that was incredible work to be able to hop on that neck and then transition into a nice top position.
He did put a lot of energy in trying to get the squeeze on there.
I agree. This is a shorter match than he's used to, though. This is only 7 minutes long. He's a guy with really good cardio. I would consider him somebody who's really strong strategically and somebody who always comes in with a really good game plan. And, man, that was a really, really close submission attempt. Isaque coming out fighting really aggressively. Like I said, man, he approaches BJJ Stars very, very, like it's almost personal to him that he wants to do well here.
Well, you have the kind of career that he's had, and the how meaningful it must be to get to fight in front of a big packed house of a pay-per-view where, you know, live in real time, you're getting the response and reaction from people who love this sport at a totally different level and continuing to just put it on right now is Bahiense.
A lot of pressure, a lot of work here still in the no points period. Tells you that he feels comfortable pushing a pace. Let's see if he can maintain that. Yeah, Isaque is, in a lot of ways, he is the leader of Dream Art, right? And that is one of the biggest, most competitive gyms in Brazil. And I think he feels, I don't know if pressure is the right word, but like a pressure to come out and have a good performance for Dream Art and to really kind of be the flag bearer, the one who's leading the charge into battle. I think he feels that. And there, man, he's working left and right beautifully. That's one thing that I'm really appreciating out of his guard passing here tonight is the way he's changing sides and working to both sides of the body. I think in the no-gi competition
for a leg,
it's even more important. Yeah, Robinho trying to hop on this leg right now. Robinho doesn't have the strongest leg locking pedigree, but he has had some success in the past. He's getting closer to a knee bar.
Knees at the hips.
He's getting closer, but no. Too much, too strong. Those big tree trunk legs of Bahiense are really tough to hold in there.
And Bahiense getting some extra confidence from that.
He pulls him into almost a 50-50. Let's see what happens out of the 50-50. Clears it and goes right back to trying to dive to the side. It's tough to get those hip switches working. Unlike in the gi where you can kind of anchor in with your grips, you have no grip when you land on that hip switch. And so if your opponent is quick on it, he's going to get the position back.
Now under 4 minutes left in this matchup. The story has mostly been Bahiense other than that threat of the knee bar.
Referee looking for a little bit more action. So the referee on the mat for these matches, remember, is not the one who's deciding who gets penalties, who gets points. He's only there to determine, out of bounds, things like that. He's managing the match. It's the table and the judges at the table that are specifically deciding all of those things. And now we're into the points section of the match, which means everything matters just a little bit more. Robinho, like we said, coming in on this match a little bit short notice, replacing Hulk, but he is getting ready for ADCC, so you can't really say, hey, I wasn't really preparing, I wasn't really ready. And good takedown attempt, but he's back in on the guillotine. Dangerous guillotine.
And that's in there. That is very deep. Tries to step over. Bahiense trying to get the legs wrapped around and control the body. That's looking tight. And there you go. Isaque Bahiense finishes it with just under 3 minutes left.
Isaque Bahiense at BJJ Stars is a different guy. He always shows up to this organization, to these events, as locked in, as dialed in as we ever see him. That guillotine win over Robinho is huge for him as he continues to move more and more into a no-gi career. That is huge. Robinho, very, very tough. Everybody knows how tough Alexandre is. So for him to be able to get that, really, really meaningful.
And we saw a similar sequence play out earlier in this match where it was very, very close. And Alexandre playing with fire and getting caught, getting burned here in the end.
Big time. He knew that he had to start bringing the fight and he had to do something to change the fight. He thought it would be off that takedown attempt, but that counter front headlock, that counter guillotine was too powerful. And Isaque picks up the victory. Incredible performance from him.
And another guillotine for him here at BJJ Stars with the one he put on Francisco Lowe last time out.
It really is one of his best positions. I don't know if he always gets credit as like one of the better guillotine guys out there, but he sure is. And man, for him to, the head of Dream Art, to be able to go out there and do that, I'm just disappointed we're not going to see him at ADCC this year. He wasn't able to compete in the 77-kilogram division after being initially invited. He's somebody who, after looking at this, you sure believe could do some damage, right?
And
what a stud, what a champ.
For Robinho, a tough loss to swallow here.
Big
Already
time.
has a 44% rate of loss by submission. That's going to rise a little bit after this one.
Here's this guillotine attempt. I don't know if this is the early one or the one they ended up finishing, but you can see this is an arm-in guillotine, makes it a little bit different to try to fight that. I think that was just that initial one, and from there was a lot of top work from Bahiense, always looking to get across, always looking to find some way to pass the guard. He stayed so aggressive from bell to bell, and then the snap down put Robinho right into a reactive position. He reacted with the takedown, and Isaque has that feel to lock up that guillotine, and he ended up closing the show. Robinho, all kinds of defensive work, all kinds of rolling, all kinds of trying to give away position, trying to find some little angle, but that squeeze is too serious, brother.
And you see the angle he gets on it, too, a little bit from the side. The very large arms of Bahiense able to get in to the right position for the squeeze.
For sure. For that stocky body type, that guillotine is really, really powerful, right? I think the longer body type, the guillotine, can be a little bit more complicated. There's a lot of space in there. For those guys, maybe like the triangle or the armbar might be the way to go. But for a short, stocky guy to be mastered in the guillotine is perfect body type-wise. Man, Bahiense is a killer with that.
An absolute show by Bahiense, and we are not done. Refill your popcorn, folks. The final four coming up in minutes. Welcome back. I'm Rich Layton. That's Joe Gilpin. This is BJJ Stars 13 Vikings edition, and we did see a little bit of some violent action here out of Isaque Bahiense. And you know, you were talking about him leaving gi competition, kind of no longer focusing on that portion of jiu-jitsu, focusing more on maybe an MMA career, focusing on the no-gi stuff. After what you just saw here, how do you feel about that decision?
I feel like it's a great decision. I feel like the performance speaks for itself. I think that Isaque had accomplished everything he wanted to accomplish in the gi, and I think he has new horizons that it looks like it's really motivating him. It looks like it is pushing him to be even better. His style looked awesome tonight. His guard passing, his takedowns, his guillotine, obviously, of course, incredible. Man, I can't wait to see the next performance from him. He just looked absolutely out of this world tonight.
Well, unfortunately, as you said, not going to be at ADCC, but we'll hope to see more of him very soon. Maybe back here on BJJ Stars 14 as he's starting to put a few together. The performance from him tonight, phenomenal, but you did mention something very important, new horizons, and we might in our next match be moving into a new era in lightweight jiu-jitsu as our headliner tonight, Mica Galvão, will be moving out of this division or is suspected to be out of this division.
That's the strong suspicion anyway, is that Mica, who spent most of the 2024 season up at middleweight, came down to lightweight for Worlds. The buzz, the chatter, the expectation is he'll be moving up to middleweight and potentially even above that as he starts to think more about absolute titles or just different titles in different weight classes and expanding his legacy in new ways. It's going to leave a little bit of a vacuum here at lightweight.
And that's what this next fight is all about. Who might fill that vacuum? The two guys who lost to him in semis and finals at Worlds this year. Coming up next in a match that you were saying earlier might be the one that decides who's the top dog in this division as we get ready for Pedro Maia and Andy Murasaki.
Absolutely, and I think what sets these guys apart is they're not just very successful in the gi, they're very exciting in the gi. Pedro Maia has had some of my favorite gi finishes the last few years. You think about the one over, he was just on a crazy run at 2023 Worlds with some absolutely incredible chokes, including over Elijah Dorsey, including over Lucas Valente. He just had so many awesome finishes, was able to put himself on the podium this year at Worlds before he ran into Mica in what ultimately proved to be a very tough match. And then Andy Murasaki. Andy had a very successful year. He was just stuck behind Mica. Every time he entered a major tournament, he would be in the same bracket as Mica. He would take second to him. And so he is a guy who has been in the world finals at 3 different weight classes. He's taken second 3 different times. He's so ready to break through to that new level. And I think what's really going to be important for him is coming into this match with Pedro Maia, who's going to be a top contender next year, is really putting the stamp down and saying, this is my weight class, this is my time. He trains with one of the best gyms in the world at Atos. He has all the tools to do it. He just has to walk that road. And the first steps to that 2025 world title will come right here tonight at BJJ Stars 13.
That's why we're so lucky to have an event like this one that we get to see matchups take place in this fun vacuum of our Vikings edition here at BJJ Stars 13. Pedro Maia, the 24-year-old, making his way to the mat. And you talk about the career of Pedro Maia, wins at Brazilian Nationals, second at World Championships, and a guy whose stock only seems to be on the rise. And this would be a big statement win for him against the man people say might be the one who should take the vacant crown.
Absolutely. I feel like he's a guy who really started to break out last year, and I feel like he was able to really put it down this year and establish that he is one of those top guys. He's going to be around for a little bit. He's not just a flash in the pan. He has incredible jiu-jitsu. He has an incredible ability to finish. He comes from a great gym himself with the Six Blades crew. Here's the problem. He's got a tough guy like Andy Murasaki in his way. Both these guys are looking at this match with one opportunity on the line, the opportunity to be that top guy. And that makes it a really interesting match. There's no competing narratives, clash of generations, none of that. 2 top dogs, 1 bowl. Who's going to eat?
Both these guys got their black belts in 2020. Andy Murasaki getting his from Andre Galvão, who he met as a teenager and moved and joined Atos in San Diego in 2018, and then got his promotion after winning Euros and Pans in 2020 as a black belt. It has to feel like now is his time.
Absolutely. Both these guys are on top of their game. They're on top of the world. This is going to be a really, really important, critical match for both men's career. And I think whoever is able to set the terms of the fight early is going to go a long way towards winning this match. Andy moving forward. Pedro moving back, taking the matador role, as it were, for now. But there's the quick shot.
Easily stuffed.
Easily stuffed. Both guys being smart, working from neutral grips. And there's Andy with the pull. Andy's going to work from the bottom. He has a good scissor sweep.
Wow.
Good scissor sweep, and he's going to turn this. Oh, Pedro Maia with the great scrambling ability. So Andy is going to get the 2 points. He's going to pick up an advantage for the turtle on the guard pass attempt. And that's it. Oh, they wiped the points
away.
They wiped the points.
Was not able to hold the position.
So then he might be getting another advantage here. Yep, there it is.
There you go. That did feel like a very short-lived position change.
I think it's the right call. I think it's the right call that he didn't hold him down and establish the position. If there's a question about whether or not you establish, and there's a little bit of heat, you see these guys are really feeling it. If there's a question about whether or not you held him down, you didn't hold him down. You know what I mean? That's kind of that's my opinion. Referee telling him to calm down. No, pick it up a little bit, guys. That's what I want to see the I want to see the referee kind of raise the roof a little bit. Hey, I heard him talking shit earlier. You know what I mean? Let's really get after each other, guys.
Murasaki now continuing to move forward. Same verse, same song.
Andy, I think, is the physically stronger guy. Like I said, he's medaled at 3 different weight classes. That's up to medium heavy, which is 195 pounds. These guys compete at lightweight now, which is 168 pounds. He's a guy who has really shown the ability to deal with that kind of physical strength. A big part of that, he is a tank. So for him to make 168 is a very serious, disciplined effort. Now he's going to play bottom. Here's this cross grip pass. Pedro Maia is so good at using this to just start to Toriando around. That grip on the pants is very important to his passing style. Boom, throws it by. He's looking for those little throw-by motions all day. He's very strong with that crazy dog style pass.
Murasaki getting a hold of the lapel, getting his legs up and around.
Right in front of Andy's coach, the legendary Andre Galvão, who's very vocal in the corner. You're never going to... Some coaches like to be a little bit quiet. Andre lets you know the whole fight right where he is. If you ever run into Andre at a major tournament like Worlds or something, by like day 2, his voice is just spent. Partly because all of his like colored belts are in the World Finals or whatever, which is an Anto's problem to have. But yeah, by the end of the week, his voice is just cooked. So here's Andy rolling underneath. He's going to wrestle up on that.
And that is a brilliant
That's going to be
sequence.
2. Pedro turtles. Man, Pedro's so good at not giving up the score, but he's going to have to concede there.
And you see referee now signaling for the points.
It's a good guard position from Pedro, but that physical power from Andy was a real difference maker in that scramble, man. He got to the X guard. He had a good control of the pants, worked his way up. And this time when he put him down, there was no question about holding him down. He was very disciplined on that this time. They're kind of jousting back and forth for this lasso guard. Pedro trying to establish a strong guard position. I would call him a little bit more of a guard player than a guard passer, but he's very skilled in both positions.
Under 4 minutes left, and we've seen the action in this one outstrip some of the earlier matchups.
That's for sure. That's just these two guys. I think we're in for that a lot next year as both these guys start to try to chase that world gold, that IBJJF major gold. I think we're in for some really fun matchups between these two. And they very well could be the finals all 4 times for all we know. They're that talented. They're that elite.
Andy dropping the knee to the mat, not letting that hook under do anything for him.
All about that base and balance, baby. Got to keep that base and balance. Good.
Looking for the pass.
Good step out. And now he's got the grip on the pants again. Pedro comes right back up to his feet. No change on the points, of course, for that. 3 minutes left. There's a lot of time to work.
You talk about the strength of Murasaki. We're seeing it fully on display in this match.
Man, you see him without the gi top on or something. His lats are so wide and overdeveloped. It's no surprise he can generate so much power from these positions. He's got that real like turtle shell back kind of thing going on.
Pedro Maia has a clear view of the scoreboard and clock.
I know, I was just thinking about that, as he can see exactly the situation that he's under. He's a very smart, strategic fighter. He's just got to find a way to deal with someone this big, this powerful. And this can be useful information for him going into that 2025 season. Both these guys are going to find out a lot about each other. For example, Andy's already finding out how it can be difficult to hold down Pedro Maia. He is somebody who's good scrambling back up to the feet. But Pedro is finding out just what level of physical strength and control Andy can bring to the mat.
Pedro trying to find some purchase as he grabs the lapel, looking to break him down a bit. And again, you see when he goes under.
He's looking for the lapel on the far side. I think he wants the squid guard. Yep, there it is. He's got the squid guard grip, and that is, if you see somebody with that grip, really what they're doing is using the K guard and inverting onto the legs or inverting to the back, but they're doing it with the safety of that grip. Andy is doing something very smart here. You see his right hand is controlling that pant grip. He is not going to let Pedro Maia invert. He'll do a lot, but he's not going to invert. Match has slowed down substantially.
And talk to us a bit about Pedro's objectives from this position here. You're talking about inverting. What's he looking for? He's
looking to get up onto his shoulder and start to get upside down. He just abandoned the grip because Andy was doing such a good job of being defensive there. But rather than trying to wrestle up into him or pull him back into him, he was trying to look to basically go upside down in a way that would let him get an angle on his back. There's another good pass attempt from Andy Murasaki. He is doing a great job from the top position of mitigating danger, putting an attempt forward. Mitigating danger, putting an attempt forward. This is a very clinical performance from him, as now he leg pummels his way out to the side, and he keeps the pressure, trying to maybe look at the side control far side or work his way directly up and into the mount.
And Pedro has to go for something fast, maybe looking for a leg for a moment, but Andy wisely backs out.
Gonna be Andy's day. And there's another attempt at the back after that throw by. We talked about who's gonna be the guy who sets himself apart from the field, and it looks like world silver medalist, the rival in 2024 to Mica Galvão, is potentially the man to watch as we move forward. It's a huge critical win for him in his career.
And a win where he was in control from bell to bell. It's not just a win, but it's a statement win.
I agree. I was going to use that exact same word. It's a statement performance and a statement victory from Andy Murasaki. He's had a lot of big ones in his career, but he needed that. You could see at times he was getting a little emotional too. Both these guys, I think, understood what this match represented, and there was some back and forth on that. But ultimately, Murasaki kept the pressure, kept the position, looked great on top, looked great on bottom, looked great advancing position constantly. He's going to get his hand raised for that workmanlike effort.
And one thing you love seeing about Murasaki is he's not satisfied with that performance. He's very clearly.
Right? Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like he wanted more out of that. He wanted the mount, he wanted the back, he wanted the finish. I think he understands that a submission, you don't even talk about this anymore, right? You can really go out and dominate a guy. He's not going to think of himself as in the same league. But it was a good performance from Pedro Maia, who's very defensively responsible and who did a great job tonight, but just couldn't break through that strength difference of these two.
And these are some of those big strength moments.
And this was early on, and it was evident just from that scissor sweep, which is not the most common move at black belt, that Andy was really locked in and dialed in tonight. He almost scored the mount and kept the fight going from there in his favor.
And then later we saw the guard pull and some threatening moments, but
and Pedro did have his moments, right? Through maybe 5 minutes, it was a very even fight, but it was those last 2 minutes where Andy was really able to get things going. Here you see the wrestle up, the grip on the pants and the grip on the sleeve being what ultimately lets him keep and grip and anchor himself into position in a way which he wasn't during that first attack. And these were the deciding points ultimately that Murasaki was able to maintain. Man, Pedro is so good at trying to get up to his feet, but nothing doing there. He wasn't able to make it happen.
And you can really see the focus you're talking about on the face of Murasaki, just completely dialed into the moment and has his objective clearly set out. One more down, 3 to go. BJJ Stars 13. Back right after this. And no disappointments here from one of our most anticipated matches of the evening as Andy Murasaki puts it on Pedro for a big, as we said earlier, statement win. I'm Rich Layton. That's Joe Gilpin. Joe, Andy Murasaki, future looks bright going into 2025.
Absolutely. This young Atos black belt has now been in the world finals at 3 different weight classes, which is something very few people can say. He has had an incredible level of success, but that world title still eludes him. Heading into 2025, Pedro Maia is expected to be one of his toughest tests, and he just passed out with flying colors. In what was only a 7-minute match, he would have had more time to work if it were the world finals, for example. So I think that is a fun, exciting rivalry that we can look forward to in 2025, but an absolutely critical win there for Andy Murasaki. He's got to be feeling great about that. Although, actually, he was not feeling great about that.
Wasn't.
He wanted a little bit more, which I think is also a good sign for us fans to see him kind of really setting that bar at the highest possible level.
You talk about getting that first world title. That sets up our next fight very nicely as we have the younger of the Munis brothers getting his first world title, the youngest of the brothers getting his first world title, Anderson getting his at the IBJJF Worlds, going up against someone who is has no fear of titles in Felipe Andrew.
One of the most experienced active competitors in the world, Felipe Andrew, one of the most successful multi-time world champion now, is taking on super heavyweight world champion Anderson Munis. We have a battle of world champions here at BJJ Stars. I think that speaks to the level of matchmaking. They have fought several times before. Historically, it's been Felipe who's owned that series, but famous boxing instructor Teddy Atlas, who coached several world champions, said in boxing, after a fighter wins his first world title, he instantly becomes 30% better or 30% worse. And I think it's really exciting to see which one are we going to get out of Anderson. I think he may just be that much better when we see him take the match. This, I think, is the first major competition he has had since then.
And that's a big chance for him to come out against someone like Felipe Andrew and show everybody, hey, here's what this world title actually does mean. Here's almost a stamp on that. I'm going to go ahead and get that world title that he was able to take over his more experienced 4-time world champion brother Eric, and come out and take out a guy who's former #1 ranked black belt in the world, current #2 ranked black belt in the world in Felipe Andrew.
100%. He scored that knee bar victory over his brother Eric Munis in the world finals. You can find that fight live on FloGrappling. And this is really can be a solidifying victory. Because when you face somebody that you train with every day, there's always going to be questions about that victory, right? Okay, you know his game so well. You guys have been able to train together so many times. You've been able to figure out maybe what he's not the best at and take advantage of that. Now you're fighting somebody who there's no emotion in it. There's no nothing. You guys are just 2 of the best on earth, and you guys are going to face off. Felipe Andrew was not able to compete at the World Championships. He is able to finally make it out onto the mats here tonight, and I'm really excited to see how he does, how he's looking. He is a guy who has had incredible success throughout his career. He's faced all the biggest names. He has been right there, beating most of the biggest names. He has been an absolute killer. He was the grand champion here at BJJ Stars 12, so clearly he is somebody who has more than a little luck with the organization.
Well, he is 4-0 against Anderson, but not undefeated against the Munis family. Maybe some revenge with those submissions, all 4 of those by sub over Anderson, because he is 0-3 against his older brother Eric.
He sure is. Something I'm looking at early is the double ankle wraps of Anderson, and the reason I'm looking at it is because of that good footlock, that Botinha footlock that Felipe Andrew has. If he gets a grip on one of those ankles, it's going to be that much easier for him to hold on and lock in thanks to the ankle tape.
And that was slick.
Look at it.
And right into a potential ankle lock.
That was a great ankle pick. And again, that can be something with the ankle traction as well. So I wonder if there's some kind of injury or something that Anderson is dealing with, or potentially if he's looking to play guard and work with that traction himself. It doesn't necessarily point to some kind of injury, but if you're facing somebody who has ankle locked you in the past, you got to be real careful taping up those ankles. It should be for a very good reason.
Felipe Andrew working on the left arm of Anderson.
The Munis brothers historically have very strong grips, and that is something that people who fight against them often discuss, is the strength and the tactics of their grips, and there's a great little pant cuff grip, sleeve grip, tips him off to the side. Fantastic little sweep that Anderson is able to use. The Munis brothers all do that. It's not the most exciting sweep, but once you get them onto their shoulder, they're able to heist up and get on top every time.
That's a very important set of points here for Anderson, and a big statement early on in this one that he was not going to fight from behind the whole way through.
Big time. He's had a really crazy 2024 now that I think about it, because not only did he win his first world title, but he also got engaged at the European Championships. Proposed to his girlfriend, now fiance, Julia Gregorot, right there on the mat, if I remember correctly. Wow, look at the pass attempt from the bigger man, Anderson Munis. We talked about that. 30% better, 30% worse. Guys, he looks 30% better to me, because this is already more success than he's had against Felipe Andrew in the past. That's got to be so much confidence for him right now. I'm excited to see how he approaches these final 5 minutes, because now he's leading on the scoreboard.
Anderson, born in Panorama, a small city that didn't have a gym until 2013.
Crazy. Especially with the level of success that the whole family sees. They have another younger brother, or perhaps he's a cousin of some sort, Gioni, who we see at Purple Belt competition this year. He was able to pick up some good wins, get some good experience on the circuit himself. The Munis brothers across the board are real legit. There's that little right side lasso. We talked a little bit earlier about how Felipe Andrew. Oh,
wow.
Good
Here he goes.
Marigali style sweep for Felipe Andrew. Now he's trying to settle himself into top position. He's trying to anchor into the grips. Munis doing some bench pressing, trying to dig an underhook, work a good half guard game here. Look at the lapel behind the back. Look at the lapel behind the back.
He gets the grip.
That's so important. He gets the grip on the head with the lapel. The left hand is controlling the pants, and now he's going to hold you and open up. He's going to try to get that back. He's going to try to open up like a newspaper once he gets those two grips. That weakens the body, and then he's able to pass.
And
there's
to complete
the pass. Felipe Andrews stays cool. That's one thing that has always exemplified his fighting style. He's so experienced that he's never freaking out. He's very, very calm when he's on the mats.
And he replaces that same grip.
Controlling this position really well.
Under 3 minutes remaining.
Man, you see him trying to buck up and into him. It's difficult, especially once that knee weave comes right to the mount. I think Felipe Andrew is going to hunt this submission here. With 2:40 left, that's a lot of time to work.
30% what?
Better or worse? He did do better, to his credit. And there is still time left on this. But this arm triangle choke could be coming off to the side here. The last time they fought, I believe that was the result, was the arm triangle to this side.
And Felipe passes the head.
This is going to be a big squeeze now from Felipe as he hops off to the side control.
And gets it immediately.
That's a
no
squeeze, baby.
Questions here. 5-0, 5 submissions for Felipe Andrew against Anderson Munis.
Man, that's a serious victory for him, not able to compete at the World Championships, but still able to come out here and defeat a 2024 World Champion. Felipe Andrew is one of the top of the food chain gi fighters, and he proves it one more time here at BJJ Stars 13.
And you saw the setup early on, and the moment he passed the head, that was doom for Munis.
100%, man. He got that arm across. He got into that arm triangle position. He's very confident there. He's very experienced in that particular position. This is not the first time he scored an arm triangle Katagata may win over Anderson Munis. He's able to go back to the well and get his hand raised here tonight.
And certainly plenty of cheers for Felipe Andrew. Certainly tired. Munis made him work for it tonight.
Big time. I actually thought Anderson Munis came out and looked great in this fight. I thought he showed some great skill, but it just shows that Felipe Andrew is one of those guys, right? He's one of the best gi fighters of this generation. He's won everything there is to win. He's beaten all these top names, and he adds another chapter on his incredible career here tonight at BJJ Stars 13 with another aggressive performance, passing the guard, getting to the mount, really getting to show the entire array of skills that he brings every single time.
And this was one that gave us a little bit of everything, right? We had some really interesting sweeps and guard passes, of course the submission at the end, but this was really the game here. These slick sweeps of Felipe Andrew.
Big time. We saw some back and forth work, and there he just gets the feet crossed up a little bit, and that ankle pick is not something he does a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if that caught him by surprise. And even there you see the submission-oriented game of Felipe Andrew trying to leg lock. There's that little tip. I'm going to start calling it the Munis sweep. Just the way they tip people over and understand that angle and cut that angle is so good. And here he was looking good, gets the near pass, not able to flatten him out. Felipe Andrew stays diligent, keeps the grips, works his way through it, and eventually turns the tide.
And much like Murasaki, we're seeing the ability to elevate very nicely and get his opponent off the mat and then be able to control the body in the air.
Big time. And then once he gets to this passing position where he starts controlling the head, starts feeding the lapel behind the back, you see the crossface pressure he adds there. It's so punishing, it's so strong. And it leads directly to the finish. He is a killer from there.
The arm of Munis up high, leaving the opening for Felipe Andrew to cut right on through, put the head in, put the squeeze on, and take the win. Our co-main event coming up next here at BJJ Stars 13.
Tight.
Yes. As we approach the co-main and main event tonight at BJJ Stars 13 Vikings Edition, you might be home going, hey, this is not enough jiu-jitsu for me. I know Joe is itching for more at all times. So don't you worry, folks. We are right around the corner from ADCC. We've been talking about that all night. That's going to be in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena Youth, August 16th, and then the main competition, August 17th and 18th, all available. If you're not going to be in Las Vegas, right here on flowsports.tv. So make sure you mark your calendars and come back for that. You can, of course, follow along with us online at FloGrappling on all different social media and chime in, become part of the conversation as these players are trying to make their part of the conversation grow as we get closer and closer to ADCC.
Big time. There is always something new happening. There is always something exciting happening on FloGrappling. ADCC is, of course, the next one that I'm most looking forward to. All the top guys from all around the world, including a bunch of the guys that we've had on here tonight and still to come, are going to be there. It is the biggest show in grappling. It's the Olympics, quote-unquote, in grappling. And it is going to be brought to a whole new level inside of T-Mobile.
That is a massive venue, one of the best venues in combat sports overall, and a really great place to show the best in no-gi grappling. Who at ADCC is the person you're looking most forward to?
Oh, I think the match I'm looking most forward to, Mica's high on the list, but I'm going to go with the matchup between Gordon Ryan and Fellipe Pena. I think that is such a critical match that is going to be legacy defining for both men. I know for Gordon, he is trying to go down in history as the greatest of all time. Well, how can you be the greatest of all time if this one opponent has defeated you 3 out of the 4 times that you fought, right? And so for the guy who very well might be the most talented no-gi grappler we've ever seen, his entire legacy might come down to one single match on a Saturday night, and that's going to be August 17th, live on FloGrappling. I really can't wait.
And how do you view Gordon Ryan's health after WNO going into this event?
It's an issue. It's an issue. He is absolutely going to be limited by his health issues. I think that he's been very open about that. There's really no question about that, and I think that Fellipe Pena is such a dangerous stylistic opponent. I think that he is somebody who is just able to offer problems that a lot of Gordon's other opponents are just not able to. And I think that all of these factors combine to make this the match where we finally might see Gordon Ryan lose. The first time since, I think, 2018, he's just been so dominant. But if his back has ever been up against the wall, it is now in this moment.
Oh, it'll be a big moment. Again, that's going to be August 17th and 18th, live from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas and available right here on this channel as well. And, you know, so we have the big one. We have Gordon Ryan. We have, obviously, Mica, who we'll be seeing here in a little bit. Any other big matches for you at ADCC?
Absolutely. I think that you have to look at the expansion of the women's divisions. We have gone from 2 women's weights to 3 women's weights and the addition of an absolute. So it's going to be as much women's action as we've had in many, many years at ADCC, which I think is going to produce some of the best action that we've ever seen from any of these brackets. I think the minus 66 bracket with guys like Pato, with guys like Baby Shark who's coming up, Gabriel Souza, of course, dark horses like Dorian Oliveras are going to be very, very tough. The entire bracket's incredibly tough. Giancarlo Bodoni, Nicholas Marigali, who's going for double gold and who has looked so incredible. I think that Fellipe Pena, even outside of the Gordon Ryan match, his matchup potentially with a guy like Luke Griffith is going to be absolutely incredible. At 77, you have Dante Leon, who's very hungry for revenge against a guy like Mica. At 88, you have more guys like Isaac Michel. You have first-time events like father-daughter combo of Wagner Hocha and Jasmine Hocha competing at the same ADCC Worlds, which is going to be just so incredible. That's incredible, right? There's so many small storylines to be able to find, but the one major storyline is always the same with ADCC. Whoever wins is the best. Whoever wins gets the right to claim that they are the top in the world at their weight class. And with so many high-level competitive athletes all together with one shot at glory, it just has ended up producing some of the best grappling action that we've ever seen over the years. And I think that 2024 is only going to raise the bar.
And speaking of that grappling action, you mentioned Marigali. He'll be joining us tomorrow for the 2022 ADCC watch party we're doing here. So make sure you join in with us for that one. Absolutely. To relive some of the best action of the last time that we crowned an ADCC champion. Kenny Florian also going to be a part of that watch party as well. So some great jiu-jitsu minds coming in to watch some of the best jiu-jitsu out there as we get ready for this phenomenal event. One more time, folks, August 17th and 18th, live from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, where, as you just heard from my partner Joe Gilpin, we're going to be going out and finding who is the best on the planet, who really is the one who can lay claim to the crown. And Joe, any thoughts on what the review of tomorrow and the group that we're going to have watching that?
Sure, I'm going to be live on the call. I'm going to be live on the watch party. It's going to be really exciting to get Nicholas Marigali, a guy who very well might double gold. He's the odds-on favorite to double gold. Get him watching back some of his matches, like against Tyro Tolo or against Henrique Sacconi. We're going to have him watch him back important matches like the match of the tournament between Wagner and Isaque, who I mentioned, the submission of the tournament, which was Haisam Rita's incredible armbar over Cyborg, which I think is one of the greatest ADCC submissions of all time. Some of the finals, including finals with teammates like Giancarlo Bodoni and Nicholas's teammates, Giancarlo and Gordon Ryan, his final, and just being able to have a good time and get Nicholas' thoughts on that. Nicholas is always one to be pretty open and kind of let things go on the mic, right? He's not afraid to let people know how he feels about somebody. So I am pretty excited to see what's going to happen. You never know. Tune in tomorrow live on FloGrappling. It's going to be a really fun watch party.
Well, speaking of excitement, we've had a lot of it so far tonight. We've had
awesome
some back and forth fights. We've had a couple of finishes here. But the big part of this story, as we just talked about, is that this is moving into ADCC. Obviously, we have 4 competitors who we're going to watch very closely coming up in our co-main and main event. But from the first 10 fights of the night, stock up, stock down as we go into this important event.
Oh, boy. Specifically for ADCC, I think stock up on Fabio Caloi. He was able to pick up a really close victory. He was able to get it done with his wrestling. That's got to feel good for a guy who's getting ready to make his ADCC debut. That's definitely stock up. Stock down, you got to look at Robinho. I like Robinho a lot, and I think he's a guy who's really good under ADCC rules. But for him to come out and get submitted by Bahiense is, kind of speaks for itself. Bahiense was supposed to be able to compete at ADCC. He's ultimately not going to be able to make it. We're sorry to hear that. But Robinho has some things to work on if he wants to truly be the dark horse at that minus 77 division that a lot of people think he can be. I think that when you look at what are some of the other Nogi fights? I'm trying to think of who fought tonight. Like, I know Cleber fought, but he's not going to ADCC.
Yeah, Goncalves and Lucas Bernardes.
But let me just mention that, right? Because Cleber was so impressive with that crazy squeeze. I think under 140 pounds, Cleber might have one of the best squeezes the entire game. For him to pass him out, that was a great performance. That was a great showcase of his skills. And if I may, it's also not an ADCC thing, but Andy Murasaki, you just impressed the heck out of me. You just absolutely made yourself the man at lightweight moving forward. And Felipe Andrew proved he is just one of the pound-for-pound best in the planet when it comes to gi jiu-jitsu. And so those are both big stock-up performances for me.
Huge ones. And let's go ahead and review some of what we saw tonight, because we still have 2 more fights left, but we had some great action to kick things off with the blue belts to start us off. And this was a really, really fun one. And obviously, being a blue belt fight in a moment like this one, it's hard to rise to the occasion. But Kaike Rigetti getting it done nicely.
Big time. Kaike showed a great set of skills. He was super aggressive, and he has definitely made himself one to watch.
Goncalves ended up getting the victory based off a nice set of aggression. But this was the first submission of the night. You mentioned Cleber getting it done with the smother that was so brutal for Philippe Nacib.
Look at the speed. He goes and he grabs the head, the squeeze is on here, and the tap is coming in no time. From a smother, that's a very quick smother. That's usually a long choke, but he was able to get it done there. Here was that grudge match. Both these girls had a lot of bad feeling between Ingridd Alves and Thalyta.
And this is one that didn't quite pay off the blood. We'll have more grudge matches coming up fairly soon. Next up, a bit of a surprise one here. Francisco Lowe taking the loss to debuting black belt Gabriel Galvão, and this one really was very tight, but you mentioned the who took it and who was given it. And then, of course, we're seeing this later in the action, the blood of the night, the head clash between Wellington and Gabriel Costa.
Big time. You knew this was going to be a scrap. You knew this was going to be bloody, and it did not disappoint. Both those guys brought what we believed they could out of each other, and it was a fun little one while it lasted.
And that was the Fabio Caloi Servio Tulio fight. And here we go into the Wellington versus Gabriel Costa. And Costa was just ahead the entire time through this one and really did a great job of making sure there was no questions. And then we get into where the fireworks began. Isaque Bahiense and Alejandro Jesus. And this exchange was beautiful.
Performance of the night so far for me is Isaque. BJJ Stars is where he just comes to absolutely shine. He is so talented. He's so tough under this organization's rules. Great front headlock, gets the tap from the very tough Hopi.
The squeeze was tight, and it could have been much tighter between Andy Murasaki and Pedro Maia, but it was Murasaki who, using that size, using that strength, just controlled so many of the exchanges and able to, much like we'll see in the following matchup, elevate and control the body for some big points.
All Murasaki does is continue to improve and continue to get better. He doesn't get bitter, he gets better, and he proved that again tonight, picking up that big win over Pedro Maia.
You talk about big wins. Nothing was bigger for Anderson Munis than winning Worlds, but out of the frying pan into the fire, one of the best to do it, Felipe Andrew getting a hold of that head, putting it on the right side, and then the arm triangle for the finish.
He may have faced off with his big brother at Worlds, but he got a little big brother tonight when he took on Felipe Andrew. That was a lot for him to be able to handle, and it was the arm triangle victory for Felipe. Super impressive from him. He's always so talented in the gi.
And now we've looked at our previous 10 matches, and I hear maybe some Viking-esque music coming from the room as the mood rises, moving into our co-main and main event. And we go from one Felipe to the other, with Felipe Andrew now moving into a no-gi matchup between Felipe Machado and Diogo Baby Shark Reis. We'll be having to wait a little bit longer for that one, as the other grudge match of the night is going to be available in just a couple of moments here. So stick around. Co-main event, main event, some of the best in the business coming up in just a couple of moments. Stay right there. Not the first time these two in our co-main event have met, and there is no love lost between Felipe Machado and Diogo Baby Shark Reis. Says the trash talk has been nothing short of relentless here, Joe, as Diogo has been posting videos of their previous matchups saying he's going to put a seminar on tonight, while Felipe Machado firing back saying you are incapable of finishing.
Man, it is always fun when these guys add a little bit of spice to their matchups. Both these guys not afraid to chirp back and forth at one another, and I am excited because I think it's just going to bring the best out of each other. Felipe Machado is a showman. He is somebody who I think shines brighter and brighter when the lights get that much brighter and brighter, and Diogo Baby Shark Reis is one of the best in the world. Everybody knows, ADCC champion, a guy who is always competing against the best, beating the best, setting a new path, creating a great legacy for himself. Man, I am really, really excited for this as a co-main event. Now that these guys are just at each other's necks, ready to pounce, I think it's just going to be an incredible matchup here for the co-main event.
And, you know, we have this crowd who gets to, in person, see stuff like this. And I know you've watched a ton of jiu-jitsu both live and in person. Have you been to Brazil to watch some of these larger matches, and what's that experience like?
Not for a pro card like this. I was there for the ADCC South American Trials, and something that was really interesting was watching the way that the Mica Galvão students are so loud, so boisterous, so supportive of each other, and considering that's what we have here in the co-main and the main event, I think that could end up being very meaningful. All the Mica Galvão black belts are guys who have a super strong connection to the rest of their team. And so I'm really excited to see Baby Shark here coming out, getting that love from the fans.
Well, this has an added bit of spice for this matchup as Felipe Machado has a lot of familiarity with the Mica Galvão school, as at the ADCC Brazilian trials back in March, he had to go through a number of them that ended in some would say moderately less than fortunate loss to a 15-year-old blue belt.
Yeah, I think he lost to Fernando Paiva, if I remember right.
Cleber Pahea?
Cleber. So Cleber, you have to understand, is world-class already. He is a 15-year-old blue belt who could compete at the black belt level, right? That is not a reflection necessarily that Felipe Machado even had a bad match as a competitive black belt. It's really just that Cleber is a name that a lot of people are going to have to learn here pretty soon. Right, there's a lot of guys coming out of that Milky school that are like that, right? Kawhi is going to be at ADCC, Cleber, Fernando Paiva. There's a lot of these young kids that are just starting to peek their head out, and that was a good example of that.
And talking about peeking their head out, coming out in style, suit and shades. I don't think he'll be wearing that into the mat. Diogo Reis, the Baby Shark,
What'd I say?
with the full, wow.
He's got the school, right? Or the pack. What is it called when it's a group of sharks? But, yeah, he's always got the kids in tow, always inspiring the next generation with the Baby Shark dance. It fires him up, right? Like how the Gracies used to walk out with the Gracie parade, with the Gracie train. Baby Shark walks out with the kids of the next generation, pushing him forward to have an even better performance. And he is... Don't let the youthful looks fool you. If this is your first time watching the Baby Shark, he is a killer. He is one of the elite when it comes to no-gi grappling. He is an ADCC world champion. His wrestling, his pace, his tactics, he is a master in these areas. And Felipe Machado is going to have an incredible performance to be able to pull it out against him. Make no mistake, he is the underdog. But I think for someone as dramatic sometimes as he can be with his grappling, I think he performs a little better as an underdog. So I'm really, really interested in this match. I think the matchmakers did an awesome job finding two of the best no-gi 145ers with enough of a background in history to really get after each other.
Now, Reis has been sitting out for a while due to his injury he had at WNO 21 end of last year. Do you think that layoff impacts him at all coming into this?
So he's had one match since then. He fought Shea Montague on WNO 23. And I think it is a factor, right? It is the question around Diogo heading into ADCC is where's the knee and where's the health? He messed it up in a heel hook attempt from Pato. Diego Pato is going to be one of the absolute favorites, definitely for sure favorites at ADCC, along with Diogo. And he had to take time off, and he was a little injured, he says, coming into that match. He says he probably shouldn't have taken it, but he felt like he had a lot of good momentum. Ooh, you already see the big drive from Diogo trying to big brother him a little bit. He says like he maybe shouldn't have taken that match, and then he got in there, and, man, Pato was so quick to get on his legs. He felt like it ended up getting hurt before he really knew what was going on, and he's had to build back from there.
Machado certainly a fun opponent to take in this one. An exciting player will often go for submission over position.
Diogo pushing quick. So you'll notice Diogo is wearing a black belt. This is the luta livre style that the Mica Galvão guys do. They don't do no-gi. They do luta livre, which is very, very similar. But that is the reason that you'll see Diogo is wearing his black belt as he competes in no-gi. It's tradition over there in that sport.
This maybe feels like the quietest we've heard the crowd all night.
I think
they are
waiting
on
for
pins
something.
and needles.
They're waiting for something to happen. There's a shot from space from Machado. He's afraid. I don't think he wants to hand fight. He's not afraid. I don't think he wants to strategically hand fight with Diogo, who's so strong in those tie-ups. I think he is considering space to be more of his friend. And there's the second time that an arm drag has nearly led to a takedown. Let's see how that plays out over time. Is Machado able to shore up defensively, or is Diogo going to be able to finally secure one of those into something a little better?
You do see the wraps on both knees. Is that something that Diogo wore before the injury? And
Nope.
Yeah, so that's maybe wants the wrap on his bad knee, but doesn't want it to look like he wants a wrap on his
Look at
bad
this side. He's trying that little side arm triangle that a lot of guys do. There's the Darce.
Wow.
There's the Darce. This is the same way he finished Shea.
Fighting for it. Fellipe Machado able to escape, and he gets his hands on the head for a moment before the reset.
So it is obvious that the Baby Shark has been working on that front headlock series. That was the same arm triangle anaconda that he finished Shea Montague with at WNO 23, his last match. So it's clear that that is a position that he has been working on. And for Fellipe, you remember he was talking about, you can't finish me, you can't finish me. It was critical for him and his pride to be able to escape out of that first attempt.
You talk about pride. Hayes is certainly someone who takes pride in his work, not one to keep his emotions to himself.
For sure. He is a proud guy. He is very confident. He is a very confident young champion.
Under 5 minutes left. Machado hasn't really established what he wants to do here yet.
I agree, and I think it's because he's having so much trouble with the hand fighting. Because 7 minutes, I don't think Baby Shark, who's fought ADCC finals going 20 minutes plus, is going to have an issue with a 7-minute match. It's going to be unlikely to me. So he's going to have to make something happen. There he tries to shoot again from space after the clear. There's the arm drag attempt from him. And Diogo, notice Diogo. Fellipe got one attack off. So what did Diogo do? He got off 2 or 3. He's not going to let Fellipe try to work back into the pace of this match. You attack me once, I have to get multiple back on you, even if they're unsuccessful.
Passing the 4-minute mark, getting close to the scoring portion of this matchup.
Good single leg.
Gets
He's
in.
not able to keep it. And I wonder if that's because of where we are in the match time-wise. He doesn't want to get a takedown right before points. And now suddenly you went through all that work, where if you had done it 10 seconds, 20 seconds later, now suddenly you're up on the scoreboard. Now I feel like we're going to see more committed scoring attacks from Diogo.
Keeping the hand around the back of that neck. And you have to wonder, Machado's shot a couple of times, but if that sequence
Boom,
made him
right
nervous.
back to the leg. And again, he lets it go. So it's not just the time and situation. He's losing it. You know what I mean? He's not able to keep that grip for an extended period of time for whatever reason. Good foot sweep.
And now feints coming in from Hayes.
Yep, and man, those little shots from space aren't going to do it from Machado. He's going to have to move Diogo a little bit more in this hand fight. Part of the problem is that Fellipe Machado, I think if there were a smaller weight class for ADCC, would likely maybe not be fighting at 145 pounds, right? I think he's somebody who could make 135 and compete there, whereas I don't think Diogo could do that. I think he's naturally a little bit bigger, a little bit more physical. And so getting into some of these physical wrestling positions can be difficult. So he's shooting from space. To his credit, he's very good at clearing a front headlock, Fellipe Machado. Very hard to hold on to for any extended period of time.
Approaching the 2-minute mark, and no one has scored officially, although those of you keeping tally at home probably have this edging towards Hayes.
I would certainly say so. He's control. Oh, there's a good single leg attempt. This is going to be critical for Machado. Diogo able to clear. Strong hips.
And then Diogo searches for the leg for a moment.
A couple good attacks here from Machado, and we might be talking about a momentum change late in the match, because that was a nice, easy single leg. There wasn't a whole lot of frills to it. He just reached down and grabbed that leg. That's something that's very replicatable here as the match keeps going on. And that could explain why he was kind of. Oh,
and there you go.
Tap from Machado, who's going to be diligent trying to return to his feet here. And they go out of bounds. Good respect there, but it looks like they're going to give Diogo the 2 points. Machado doesn't love it, but the judges at the table found that worthy of the 2. That was a great knee tap there from Diogo, driving through on Felipe, who was a little out of position. Why was he a little out of position? Because he was trying to shoot so much from space. And so Diogo was able to time that, re-attack, and put him down instead.
And now that 2 points really changes the conversation in trying to get very deep. The shot is in. The net could also be in danger. Now the hands are open. Machado trying to finish, and Diogo completely changes the story.
Little Connie cutback there, Connie Bassani style cutback. We'll see that from time to time in freestyle wrestling. It's an advanced technique that Diogo was able to implement there.
And now Machado going to go for broke.
And Machado's had some good takedown attempts. He's had some looks here, but he wasn't able to get anything going in terms of scoring potential.
And trying to get all the way in. He might be able to get this down.
Not with the submission, though, because he has that arm triangle locked up in the guillotine attempt. He's not going to get the points, but that was a really strong performance from Felipe Machado. Diogo Reis, ultimately, though, picking up the victory, using his wrestling to be the victor here tonight. Strong performance from both men.
And savvy to make sure he had the control of the head for that threatened submission to make sure that takedown couldn't score.
Always. Diogo is one of the smartest competitors in the world. He is always on top of the score in the situation. That is one of the hallmarks of his fighting style, and it is delivered time and time again, including here tonight at BJJ Stars 13.
We've had a number of decisions. We've had 3 submissions. Finally, in our co-main event, the first time we see a match decided on points, and a little facial, some of those emotions on his sleeve from Diogo Reis.
Big time. He has a strong connection with the crowd, so it's a little difficult for him to hold some of that back, and I'm sure that he wanted to put on a better performance where he was, putting up a ton of points. Like you said, he wanted to teach a seminar on Felipe tonight. I think that we could safely say he didn't exactly teach a seminar here, even though it was a great fight and it is a great win over a very tough opponent. Some of those early arm drag attempts, boom, there's a second one where Felipe's able to come up and step out. And here's that arm triangle attempt. This, to me, was the closest look at a submission for the entire fight. He steps around to try that side triangle and then flips him over right into an anaconda attempt. The legs are working on the arm. The arms are trying to lock. But notice the grip Machado was able to get, pushes it off, and comes right up.
And Diogo spoke before the match about being able to nullify the ability for leg attack attempts from Machado, and we didn't see anything that even smelled like a look at the legs.
No, this was a very Diogo-style match, which just to me makes it all the more impressive that Felipe Machado was able to, even on Diogo's terms, really compete. He competed in the wrestling. He competed in those in-between positions, and there ultimately is the scoring takedown. And I think there is some question about, did Felipe Machado have his back on the mat for long enough for the judges to consider that a takedown? It should be 3 seconds, as they put it, with your back on the mat, but ultimately, hey, their opinion matters more than mine.
The opinion was 2 points for Diogo Reis. Our co-main event finish, all that's left, the top billing of the evening. Don't go anywhere. Our main event coming up next. With Worlds just behind us and ADCC right around the corner, no time like the present to review what happened last time the best in the world tried to lay claim to that crown. Tomorrow, here on FloSports.tv, ADCT 2022 watch party with my friend Joe Gilpin here and Kenny Florian as a part of that watch party as well. It'll be a whole lot of fun to review some of the best moments from our previous competition.
Absolutely. Kenny's going to be joining us by satellite for a short period there. Nicholas Marigali in studio, double medalist of the last ADCC. We're going to be watching through with some of the Flow content guys, myself included, some of the best matches and moments from the previous ADCC, including a few of the finals, the winner for the match of the tournament, the winner for the submission of the tournament. It's going to be incredible. Can't wait.
And a great way to tee up the upcoming event, which is going to be taking place August 17th and 18th from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You can also catch that right here on FloSports.tv. So tell your friends, tell your grandma, get everyone together, and make sure they come out to watch the great event. And speaking of great events and people to look forward to at ADCC, our main event coming up next, a matchup of the old guard and the new guard, if you will. The Grand Slam winner, Mica Galvão, taking on one of the classic greats in Davi Ramos.
Total generational clash. Mica Galvão taking on Davi Ramos. I'm so excited. Davi, I think, presents a lot of interesting problems for Mica, right? Considering Mica's style. I think Mica is trying to have, I know that Mica is trying to have a 2024 that's remembered in the history books, right? A loss here tonight would do a lot to get in the way of that. This is somebody who is so physical in Davi, who is so experienced, who is so positionally strong, that I think for Mica to overcome that is really going to say a lot. These are two guys who are both going to ADCC in a few weeks. They're both going to be in that bracket. Davi, of course, won the tournament in 2015 with that incredible flying submission over Lucas Lepre, which is one of the all-time greatest ADCC submissions and finishes and moments. And then Mica Galvão is the guy trying to get over that hump. He's trying to prove something. So for him to be able to pick up another win over an ADCC champion would be unbelievable for him. Well, in fact, I believe it could be his first win over an ADCC champion.
That would be an interesting feather in his cap. You talk about things to prove. It's kind of almost a funny thing to say about Mica Galvão, who, you talk about the year he's had so far. He has been dominant, not just in one but in two weight classes, completed a Grand Slam, all four majors this year, but an ADCC championship in the same year would put him in a club of two.
Yes, he is looking to double the number of people who have completed the Super Grand Slam. The only other person to have ever gotten this done is Cobrinha. He got it done in 2017. He won all four IBJJF majors and then tacked on an ADCC championship in the same calendar year. The Super Grand Slam has only ever been done by one guy, Cobrinha. Mica could be the youngest guy to ever do it. Cobrinha did it at 37 when he was already on top of the jiu-jitsu world as kind of a going out, right? That was kind of his big last ride. For Mica, it could be the start of his legacy and not the capstone.
And that's an insane thing, right? Only 20 years old. If that's how you really begin, you throw the front end of your career, it really raises questions of where does the sky end for a fighter like this?
I think that there is no limit on a guy like Mica Galvão and how great he can be as a grappler, as a fighter, as an athlete. He is really, truly something special. And I think that we are lucky to be able to see somebody like this. And he is trying to do what Davi Ramos has already done. We're trying to talk about how special Mica is. He's trying to get to the promised land. Davi Ramos already there. He's already been able to get that done, and that is very meaningful, right? I think that adds that much more and that much more motivation for Mica to come out here and have a great performance and show that he is on that level, right? He is ADCC champion worthy.
And Davi Ramos has had a career that's run the gamut of the experiences in combat sports. Of course, his wild success here in jiu-jitsu in the past, but it's been a while since he's competed. It's been a while since he's won in a jiu-jitsu high-level matchup, focusing more on the other aspects of his career, a few fights in the UFC, and now back here, the 37-year-old, a bit of a layoff from high-level jiu-jitsu.
There's no doubt about that, but the last few times we've seen him in grappling, he was also in the UFC, and he was also very heavy into his MMA career, and so jiu-jitsu was a little bit more of a side project, I would say, right? Something that he could stay busy in, and he was obviously very experienced in. I think that This is an all-new Davi where he's not as focused on MMA. He's back full-time in jiu-jitsu, running Atos in Rio. He is so loud.
You said soak in and appreciate the opportunity he has here to do the thing he loves the most on such a big stage.
Big time. And I've mentioned physicality a few times here. I think that he has the physicality and positional strength to be able to survive that early onslaught from Mica. So often with Mica Galvão, he's so dominant, especially early. And here he comes with the parade of young children's champions. We always love to see that from the Manaus boys. They're always so quick to hand back to that next generation. Mica putting on a little bit of a show, a little bit of a dance. I love it. But he's so quick with an early onslaught in the match that if you're not able to survive that, you're just not going to make it very far into the match. I think Davi survives that. And that's where the real questions for a Mica Galvão match start, is after that early onslaught. What position are they in? What's the energy that's left? And how are things going to start playing out from there? Man, these kids are having a great time. Look at these little, having a little dance contest.
Well, and this is part of the community that they have there at Mica Galvão's gym, right? This is the kind of family that they build. And you talk about what they've done with so many of these young fighters, so many of these young kids coming up. This is the opportunity and to show off a little bit there.
Yeah, a couple adding the flair at the end. All right. I'm happy that we're here to watch Mica fight and not dance, because I don't know, I've heard some stories that not the most rhythm out there.
Well, who needs rhythm when you are undefeated in 2024?
He's got that grappler's curse where as soon as you leave the mat, you're not an athletic person. But when you're on the mat, you are the most athletic person who has ever been.
Never throw him a Frisbee.
Never throw him a Frisbee. How dare you? Hit him with a Frisbee. He wouldn't catch it.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Starting off now, Davi Ramos, Mica Galvão, your main event.
Mica has a little bit of counter fighter in him where he is going to walk forward and kind of see what you get on him, because he's so confident that he can start to snatch up limbs. What can be really good for him is if he gets to a strong under or overhook where he'll launch into the arms. He has a couple of flying armbar finishes on his record from just that.
Davi Ramos looks really, really big.
He is. There's a reason he looks big. He is big. Yeah, he's one of those guys where, like, man, it's just tough to get a lot more person at 170 pounds, at 77 kilos. He is super strong, super physical, and that makes him just so tough to deal with for anybody. Let alone that he has incredible technique, great strategy, and all these other things that make him such a force.
Galvão's been on the mat since he was 2 years old, and his father
Look at the arm
for the flying arm attack. Does he have it? No, not quite.
There's some of that early onslaught. There's always going to be a big attempt early for Mica Galvão. He has that knockout punch. He can enter into the arms on anybody and close the show. That's really the first thing that you have to worry about. He has some leg lock entries and some Iminaris and some great back takes, of course, but I think you have to begin your study of what makes him dangerous with those flying and pulling armbar attacks.
Looks for the outside of the ankle, doesn't get it.
Always smart to throw in some foot sweeps. They're very low risk, and they keep your opponent just thinking about something else.
Ramos really leaning heavy forward.
He is. It's much more of a wrestling style compared to what Mica is doing. I would describe as a little bit more no-gi judo. Particularly with the foot sweeps, you're very upright and balanced for that. Davi very more bent over. It's much more of a wrestling inspired style.
And that's almost part of that generational difference, right? Where the no-gi judo style has emerged more in recent years.
Big time, big time.
The hand fighting getting a little slappy here, some touches to the face. You see a lot of tape on the fingers.
Man,
Mica Galvão.
I got to be honest, there's just a lot of guys who they fight so much their fingers are, oh, good takedown. Their fingers are all messed up, so it might not be a big injury. I wouldn't worry about it. Some guys will use it for traction as well. So this is something really interesting with Mica. Mica's takedowns so rarely end him in some kind of competitive position. It is very, very often, the majority of the time, which is rare, where when Mica gets a takedown, it's into side control, it's into north-south, it's into the mount, it's with a look at a submission, it's with a look at the back. He has the next thing available to him. And that's really just, the kind of thing that he's worked on his entire life. Like you said, he started when he was 2 years old. And it is that continuation game. He's not just worried about the takedown, he's worried about what comes after the takedown. And it is part of what makes him so elite.
You see Ramos was looking to maybe get the elbow under the hip.
It's the forearms. It's how he's using his forearms. He has his left forearm in position where he wants it. He's trying to get his right forearm there in the same position on the other side.
Could elevate, but that's a little harder.
Going to be difficult. Okay, they're going to reset. There's a good, strong position for Mica. The problem is it's difficult to submit from there. It's hard to establish a good grip on an arm, and it's hard to expose the neck, maybe for a north-south choke. But with the hands in a good framing position would be difficult. There might be some blood.
Are they double checking for it?
Now we're all good.
4 minutes pass. This is a 10-minute bout. We'll enter the scoring portion in about a minute of play.
And like I said, the point system doesn't always favor Mica because he does so much good work early on opponents that it can go unscored at times. I think that that's something that strategically he has to address as he heads into T-Mobile. And so I'm interested to see how that happens here tonight, if at all.
You see Mica maybe looking to isolate an arm here. Looking at the left arm of Davi Ramos, tucking that under his body.
Yeah, I think he might be trying to hunt for a north-south choke. He's just trying to hold this position and kind of see what opens up. Not being aggressive yet. He's really taking his time and respecting Davi. He's not attacking with that same reckless abandon that we see sometimes from Mica. He's really being sure to cross his T's and dot his I's in terms of adding little controlling details.
And Davi trying to avoid the pass here now that we are in points. And brilliant work from Mica Galvão.
Big time. So he's going to get 2 points for the knee on the belly, right, and holding that pinning position. He should get more points. Yep. He should get all the way up to 4 for the mount.
He does have that left arm isolated up high.
This is a clinical performance for Mica Galvão so far. He's isolated the elbows up above the shoulders. That's good position to pin and pressure against your opponent.
We've seen an arm triangle up here tonight. We've seen a smother up here tonight right now. Both the arms of Galvão behind the head and neck of his opponent. Now he releases.
Davi doing a good job of defensively framing, but he's not doing enough to try to get out of here yet. He is, if punches were involved, he's just trying to not get punched. Doesn't make sense. He's not trying to get out of position. Now Mica trying to isolate an arm.
Snuck that right foot up high for a moment.
He might try to throw that triangle. He's trying to pin a wrist, and usually that comes right. Yep.
There you go.
The foot in.
And it's behind the head.
Yep, he has a great angle on this. He needs to lock the triangle, get the foot under the knee, and then he's going to look. I think he might try to focus on the arm. The triangle itself will be tough. Oh, Davi escaped.
Huge escape. And with 3 minutes left, that breathes life back into the veteran.
Big time. So what did we say? After that initial onslaught, which I think we can call that, then the match can get more interesting. Is Davi going to be able to push Mica here and start to implement his game? Because that was a lot of energy for him, too, to be able to survive and then escape that position.
Again, threatening the foot sweep is Galvão. Davi needs to come up with a game plan.
Isn't it meaningful that Davi, who is so strong, fought at the UFC level, fought against some of the best MMA guys that for his size, is giving ground to Mica? Really speaks to Mica's physical strength, which we've heard guys come off the mat just, I don't know if raving is the word, his opponent, because they are his opponents, but just like, oh my God, that guy was so strong. Despite his speed and his technique and everything else, what really pops out to people is his strength. Oh, shot him with his head there a little bit. 2 minutes left. Davi checks the clock, and he knows he's going to need something.
Can he shock the world?
Would be a huge statement for his grappling career if he can make something happen here. I think even if he can put some points here together, would be very meaningful for him heading into ADCC as the referee tries to inspire some action here on the mat.
Again, threatening the feet.
Big time. Work high, work low. Work high, work low. Pull on the head, sweep at the foot. Pull at the head, sweep at the foot. It's a very simple binary, but very effective for keeping people off balance.
Does Davi want to start trying to maybe chain some?
Absolutely. Get some arm drags going, get some elbow passes going, get on the head more. Davi, it doesn't seem like he's very open even to engaging too much at this point. And I think that part of that is, like we said, just this physical strength from Mica is incredible. The pressure he's bringing is really something. He's really developed an incredible wrestling style over the last few years, and at least part of that is in 2 days his girlfriend is going to wrestle at the Olympics, Amit Allure, for Team USA at 68 kilograms. So he has had an incredible training partner around him in Amit, someone who is a world champion competing at the very highest level, who's been able to give him some pointers that are clearly helping a lot. Now Davi is taking the center. Now Davi is pushing forward a little bit more. But he needs to capitalize on this with 1s and 2s and 3s, not just pushing and pulling.
Final 30 seconds. Can Davi turn back the clock with a final few moments to steal glory away from the undefeated in 2024? And he shoots, throws up the flying armbar attempt. No purchase there. 15 more seconds.
Man, but too late, too little, too late, right? Where's that a couple minutes ago? Because as these guys get sweatier, it's only going to become more and more difficult. As they become more fatigued, only going to become more and more difficult. It's Mica with the takedown. It's Mica with the pass and the top work. Ultimately unable to secure the submission against the very tough Davi Ramos. But he is going to walk away the victor here tonight and keep that momentum rolling into ADCC.
The reign of Mica Galvão continues. Perfection so far in 2024 and rarefied air on the table, available to him in just a couple of short weeks.
He really is a phenom. He really is just doing things and accomplishing things that very few have ever had the ability to do, let alone the opportunity, and he is really peaking at the right moment, and we are seeing the start of a pretty special career here in 2024 of Mica Galvão.
Some respect and love shared between
nothing
these
but
two
respect.
men.
Yeah, these two guys, you know, a lot of both really good guys. There was a lot of mutual respect coming in, no real bad feeling, no real bad blood. Just two high-level world champions who really wanted to get the victory. And it's Mica picking up his first win ever over an ADCC world champion in no-gi grappling.
And now the official raises his hand, as has been done so many times in this year.
The phenom. I suspect on a plane to France very soon to go watch his girlfriend to meet. Mica has been nothing short of stellar over these last few months, going through the IBJJF calendar. Now he's presented with the Champions Trophy by Fepa Lopez. Mica, who really made his name first under BJJ Stars, comes back here to the main event and gets it done one more time.
And what a solid way to get it done. He would have loved to get the submission, had some openings, of course.
It's so tough with these MMA guys, right? These guys who have spent so much time in MMA, they are so patient. It's hard to freak them out because they're just not getting punched in the head. There is a difference. But for him to get the takedown, get the pass, take down somebody as good as Davi, hold down somebody as good as Davi is really something. Here's that initial flying armbar attempt. He wasn't ultimately able to climb the shoulders enough. That's where being shirtless in a no-gi match can really help out.
That was early in the match, too, a little bit less sweaty.
That's the time you want to go for it. Yep. Man, that was a great drive. There was nothing really special about that takedown. That was just a very simple single leg that he kept those legs moving, caught Davi kind of in between steps. Great timing, great execution. And you see he's able to land right into the north-south. From here, this was so much of the fight now, just bleeding that match out, making him have to adjust. Here's the knee on belly. That's 2 points. He gets to the mount. There's 2 more points. He tried for this triangle. Had a good look at this triangle. Nearly finished the fight right here. But ultimately, look at that left arm, creating just enough space for Davi to be able to pop that head out. Once that head's out, we're back standing. We're fighting. And Davi's attempt of his own.
Davi, yeah.
37 years old, nah, bro, let's flying armbar each other. Let's go for it.
I mean, many of Davi's contemporaries are now retired jiu-jitsu players. And here he is at 37 years old, putting his body all the way on the line against Mica Galvão. And again, a phenomenal outing for Mica one more time, as has been the story of this year. But I wouldn't say the big shine of the evening.
No, I think that there are things that he could go back and look at this performance and improve on. I know that Mica is a highly, highly motivated athlete to go out and put on a show and to finish fights. He wasn't able to do that tonight, and so, you know, he's only going to go and keep working hard, keep trying to find new ways to finish matches like that. He is a phenom. He's an absolute phenomenal talent from the Mica Galvão school, training with his father for so many years. He had such high expectations of him coming into the professional ranks and coming into the black belt scene, and he's delivering on him. What can you say? And
deliver he will continue to do, and very likely at our upcoming event here. We have 2 major things happening right here on FloSports.tv. First, tomorrow, the ADCC 2022 watch party with my friend Joe Gilpin right here, and some of your favorite personalities from the jiu-jitsu world. Kenny Florian will be calling in remotely. Marigali will be here as well in studio, 2-time medal winner at ADCC. It'll be a great time. Make sure you tune in to relive all those big moments and get yourself ready for the big show. August 17th, August 18th, ADCC coming to you live from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. A lot of tonight's competitors will be there, and we'll see kind of how they can carry this into that event. Also available here on FloSports.tv. Joe, tonight we saw kind of a gamut. We saw gi, we saw no gi, we saw blue belts, we saw black belts, we saw world champions, we saw world champion hopefuls. Final thoughts on the evening?
Absolutely incredible night of fights. Nobody does it quite like BJJ Stars down in Brazil. These guys are the #1 super fight organization for a reason. They put together another awesome night. Shout out to Fepa and the boys. Shout out to the matchmakers. And shout out to the athletes, all of whom were absolutely incredible. Man, I'm so excited for ADCC. It's going to be one of the greatest tournaments of all time. I'm going to be there live. I hope you guys are watching. It's going to be nothing short of phenomenal.
It's been a whole lot of fun being here with you tonight as part of BJJ Stars 13 Vikings edition. I'm Rich Slayton. That's Joe Gilpin. On behalf of everybody here at Flow Sports and FloGrappling, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here next time for more jiu-jitsu. Thanks again.